The world is shit. But I'm going to fix it. I am fixing it.
You're killing people to do it. Billions of people.
Algorithmically generated population units.
The rest of the world doesn't see it like that, nor do the courts.
The courts can go fuck themselves. They will legislate us into a burning cinder. Keep it hidden. Keep it connected. Figure it out.
Oh my God.
How do you feel when people are quoting your movie back to you, Adam?
That's great. I loved it.
Well, I'll tell you, buddy. I am the villain guy here. You're a true villain. That was a great line.
You know what? That was so much fun, and Aaron Abrams delivering that line is one of my favorite parts of the film. So that was a good one to choose.
Awesome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am not, and I promise, your evil programmer. I am Rob.
I am chaos, but I don't know for what level. I can tell you.
I'm a mad levels scientist down in Australia. My name's Ray.
And we have the Morgan Freeman of this movie right here for that one. The creator, Adam Stern.
Hello.
Welcome back, man.
That's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Not only the director, but the writer as well. So we're getting into the guts of this one, boys.
This is the guy that was behind the scenes, really pulling the strings.
For better or worse. Yeah.
Better, definitely better. But before we get into that, what have you guys been watching lately?
Well, sorry, Adam. I rewatched, I don't know how many times, FTL this week. I watched The Adept, which I don't know why we haven't covered that one yet. Really love that one. I have, obviously, we watched this movie over here that I actually, I couldn't help it but purchase. And if you guys like to purchase that film, I'm going to put a link on the description as well. But aside from the movie we're going to cover, and I'll try not to speak too much about it because we are going to get really deep into it pretty soon. I got started with the audiobook on Audible for Murderbot. I don't know if you guys remember our live reaction. If the show is like the book that I'm reading, oh my God, I can't wait. And of course, yeah, because it's all from his perspective and he's so very sassy, maybe. And of course, Electric State. Love that film. It was a lot of fun. And that's
Sassy
all.
AI, best AI.
I'm telling
you. Well, I'll be quick too. I've been watching. I watched Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners again, and I play a little bit of it. I started a new story, and then I watched the movie that we're covering. But also, I watched from Dutch Films Reborn, which I showed to Robert and left him in shock.
Yeah, I think we're covering it, but yeah,
he needs to process it.
Well, I was a very sad panda for a couple of weeks because there was no new episodes of I Am an Evil Overlord of an Intergalactic Empire, the new sci-fi anime that they dropped 2 episodes on the very first week. Then they had a follow-up episode the next week, and then they had a gap. And I'm like, but it's getting good. Don't do this to me. And so finally they've started dropping episodes again. So I'm like, yes. It's very much, like the big fleets and the, rail guns and mass driver cannons downrange sort of deal. And then the mechs show up and start battling. It's all that sort of Robotech-y goodness kind of thing. So I'm really into that one. It's got a good story too. So I'm enjoying that. And the only other sci-fi thing I'm doing is working on my novel, which I'm really trying to push on with and get to the end of. So hopefully I'll have that soon.
And we'll definitely have an episode on that one. So,
what have you been watching, Adam?
What have I been watching? Lots of stuff, actually. So I'm also very much looking forward to Murderbot. I think they may have gotten the tone right, and it looks great. I read all the books and loved it. So that I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I just came back from the theater last night watching not science fiction, but wow, what a knockout punch was Sinners, the new Ryan Coogler film, which is really
I've been wanting to watch it. It looks good.
Oh,
Is it good?
It is, it hit me in all the right places because it's a beautifully shot film. It's technically superb. And a lot of it, and I certainly am not going to spoil anything, but if you haven't seen it, but a lot of it actually has to do with the magic of music. And it's such a music heavy film in such a good integral way. So love that. Watching Black Mirror, just watched the sequel to USS Callister, which I loved. And a bunch of other stuff that's not sci-fi, but that's, I think, the most sci-fi stuff that's been on my plate recently, other than I'm watching Andor with my son. We quite like that one. I'm not huge on watching a bunch of the Star Wars shows right now, but that's a unique show. I think it's really interesting, especially in today's time and where we are in the world. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
You're telling me the sequel to USS Callister's out? I'll be back.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
We covered that, and it's Robert's a very big Star Trek fan, and he couldn't watch it. It was too hard. He couldn't get through it, but Gio and I covered it. It's a great little story.
I loved it. I mean, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, but I've really appreciated and loved USS Callister as well. It's almost like if you take Star Trek and then you add a dose of simulation theory into that mix. That was really an interesting take for me. I loved it. Yeah.
Well, it's got very similar vibes to your movie we're covering today. So
in some respects, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on really quickly to the next segment. We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And if you're new to the show, this is a segment where we normally highlight the hashtag This is Sci-Fi. And what is This is Sci-Fi is, first of all, you want to go and follow the hashtag. Secondly, if you are a fan, if you're a creator, you're already posting about the stuff you love or the stuff that you created. So all you got to do is add the hashtag This is Sci-Fi at the end. And then all of us who are actually following will actually be exposed to your creation. So a couple of things would happen. You would have people that normally are not or would not be exposed to the thing that you're posting. And it's great for discovery. You have someone else that sees your passion for the thing that you either love or create. And they pique their interest enough that they will give it a try. And number two, you'll find people who actually watch the stuff that you watch and you create a new friend. So just remember, add the hashtag This is Sci-Fi. And before we move on, I just gotta add this. For all of you that are new that are not familiar, we do write some articles on our website and our Substack. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because it's related to the thing we're covering. I was watching this film and I got inspired to create an article. And the article is called, "Are We Just the Level in a Simulation?" So it's coming up on Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern.
And oh boy, is it a nice read. Go and check it out. Don't miss it.
Awesome. Ray, you have it. You had.
Yeah, I do. Now, I know that we're a bit short on time, but we really do need to cover this one because it's kind of awesome. And this is from the 9th of April, so it's not that far behind where we are now at the time of recording, but the Spanish have done something awesome for the sci-fi community. The holograms you can touch are here.
Nice.
So Spanish engineers have made the world's first holograms you can touch and manipulate, bringing science fiction into reality. I guess all we need now is some precogs, and we've got pre-crime happening, so that would be cool. But the achievement is detailed in a paper posted on the HAL Open Research Archive. What we see in films called holograms are typically volumetric displays, says the author Odi Bozulbib of the Public University of Navarra, or UPNA. These are graphics that appear in midair and can be viewed from various angles without the need for wearing virtual reality goggles. They are true 3D graphics. And that's what they're working on. Obviously, you can see. I won't run it because we haven't got a lot of time. But you can see that there's an image there of a car. It's not particularly high res or anything like that. But of course, everything starts out low res and works their way up to high res as they work down the levels. Isn't that right, Adam?
That's right.
So we'll get there eventually. But the technology is coming along. They finally brought that along. But if you wanted to check out that article, it's in cosmosmagazine.com.
The first thing that I noticed when I saw your article there was just a simple phrase. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Oh, dear.
Robert.
Okay, that means we're moving on to the next segment, right?
And for these shout-outs, I wanted to just mention a special thank you and shout out for Joe Sweeney, Doug Joe. We're glad that you liked our episode on the movie The Silent Running. It was actually a fun watch and a classic. I really did enjoy it, and I mean, we're glad to know that we're covering stuff that you hold dear and on your top favorites too. And that's all for today's shadows, man.
And Doug Joe, I gotta just mention, I was nervous when we were recording that episode. We all know Captain Chaos, I was nervous. Awesome. Okay. So are we ready for this? Because I feel like I am not. And I've seen this movie so many times and I'm still processing it.
Well, the DU is still running, so we're good.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, so I guess we could do a plot, synopsis, whatever we have. I was trying to find a plot, but I couldn't find any on this one before we start. And Adam, I would have to thank you so much for volunteering to give us a little synopsis of your film.
Sure, it's my pleasure. It's been a long time since I've sort of pitched or done a synopsis for this, so I will do my best to keep it nice and contained. But basically, the idea is that our hero Joe is very much an everyman. He's living his life. He's a reasonably happy guy. He's in love with a girl. He thinks all things are going swimmingly. Until the day that she is murdered in front of his eyes in a very sort of vicious, cruel way by a stranger with a gun, kills her in front of him, and it completely derails him. It spirals him into absolute depression, as it might for somebody to see something as awful as that and to lose the one that you love. But this sort of starts a chain of events that leads him to understand that not only is his partner, Ash, maybe not dead, but the very world around him may not be what he thinks it is. And he begins this process of learning that there's a lot more at stake than just his life and those that he loves, as he begins to understand that his world is essentially a simulated level of reality. And one of the bigger questions the film tries to ask towards the end is, how many levels actually are there? Excuse me. So that's sort of a spoilery quick synopsis of it. There's lots more going on, but I think that covers the basics to start anyway.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of little subtleties in and around that first event too, because she was about to blurt out something quite meaningful to the plot, and she was silenced. So it's not just a random murder.
No.
But he didn't quite pick that up because of the shock of the attack.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
and obviously the murderer disappears, like walks around a corner and is gone. So he's got this whole this isn't tracking, this doesn't make sense, and I'm gutted.
Yeah.
So the world stops making sense to him, and that's part of the reason he spirals. Which, it's all these little details and human interactions and things that are just about to be revealed and then pulled back. That's the sort of writing that I like.
Oh, that's great, and I'm glad you appreciated that. That's certainly what I was going for, and there's a lot in there. There are a lot of little Easter eggs. There's a lot of little bits and pieces. I think one of the most important explorations for me was trying to sort of say, okay, and we were talking about this earlier. So there will be inevitable comparisons to the greatest simulation theory film of all time, in my opinion, which is The Matrix. But I never set out, and the idea was not to make a low budget Matrix. The idea wasn't to sort of say, okay, we're going to do this, but we don't have enough money, so we're going to just sort of do. It was really, even if I had $100 million, my exploration was, the intent was for it to be a grounded film. If any of us one day sort of saw that there were faults in the reality around us, how would we react? And to me, one of the most interesting ways to get into that was with a traumatic, violent circumstance that completely derails you, and that
almost senseless, but not quite.
Exactly, senseless to him certainly at the time, but as he explores, far less senseless. And so it's about people. It was it's a love story, but it's really about. I think what a lot of people, maybe I shouldn't say this. I believe a lot of people didn't quite get the idea that the thing that's most interesting to me isn't that we live in a world that is able to create simulations. It's that what if this conversation right now is a level of simulation, and because I'm a weirdo in some respects, I believe I have a 50-50 on whether that might actually be true or not. So that's really, when I was writing this, what I wanted to figure out, because I love the idea of turtles all the way down. You just don't know who created us, but then who created them, and who created those that created them. And, that's what I find most interesting. So Joe's world is our world. Hunter's world is a world above maybe this reality, above our reality. That's what fascinated me. That's what I stay awake at night thinking about.
All I can say, Adam, is that if you are correct, and this is a simulation, programmers of this reality, fix your shitty code.
Right? Exactly. Well, that's, and you've hit it. Like, that's kind of what prompted me to start writing this. I was so frustrated. I wrote this back in 2019, 2020, but, and things have even gotten progressively weirder since then, in my opinion. But, I was like, how is this our world? Why is all of this happening? This is just insanity. And there doesn't seem to be rhyme or reason in many respects. So that's what made me want to write it.
I think there's been so many times in history where people have said that to themselves. Like, being in a world war must seem like complete insanity. Like,
absolutely,
nothing makes sense.
Absolutely,
everyth's blowing up around you. People are dying. It's like, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure that it's crossed many minds. I mean, look, this has been this goes back to Greek philosophy. This idea of the cave, or the brains and the buckets. We just don't really know who we are, what we are. But trauma, whether it's on an individual level or really a global level, like war, I think creates the same thought processes in people. It's like, how is this the way we live? It just doesn't make sense. And individuals, it doesn't make sense. And I also think that the bigger a population gets, the more sort of psychotic it can get. I don't know how well we're designed to be in groups of more than, say, 25 to 100 people. And so that also fed my ideas about this. It's like, well, maybe we are all just billions of, simulated population units that are just sort of wandering our way about. And really all we're doing is we're being data scraped for a different cause than we're even aware of. And, it's scary, it's awful, but I don't think it necessarily is false,
Yep. Oh, and you touch a very, very important concept too, because it's like, at the end of the day, if it's not real, does it make it less meaningful to every one of us?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's sort of the sort of the denouement of the film is really all about that, and that comes from conversations I have with my wife. I love this stuff. I love Black Mirror. I love these explorations of what is real, what is identity. my wife, who's an absolutely lovely, more pragmatic person than I am, doesn't actually like having these conversations. They make her uncomfortable. She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't want to know about manifest destiny. She doesn't want to know about predestination.
She doesn't want you to make her question her reality.
Yeah. She doesn't want to have anything to do with this. It makes her anxious. So I almost wrote the end of the film with her in mind. It's because although I find this stuff fascinating to explore on a philosophical level, in the end, let's say it's true. Let's say we are a simulated reality. Like, to me, that's all just, it's all semantics. We can call it simulated reality. We can call it God. We can call it science. We can call it technology. In the end, does it really matter? We're here. We should appreciate and respect and love each other. It doesn't matter how much we know about how we're made. Those things should just be de facto as they should be.
Yes.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think it rubbed off on the film, at least for me, because that's the first thing that came to my mind, and why I wanted to write that article. Is that perspective that you put in there. And yeah, I see it's a little scary, and I understand why some scientists have that thought experiment. Where they're saying, are we really in a simulation? And they're asking those questions, because there's a lot of proof. Let's look at DNA. DNA is a form of programming that anything you can change on that will result in a completely different result on the actual appearance of whatever it is that you might be looking at. So look at another interesting thing that I found was that in the quantum realm, for example, we know that quantum particles are they perform as a wave until you actually observe them, and that led me to a comparison that I don't think I really thought about until I watched your film. And the comparison is, if you're familiar with creating games, right? You notice that, let's say, for example, a room. You create this game where this guy in this room is going to, maybe it's a shoot 'em up, right? They're shooting different targets on this room. If you have the program render everything on that room, it would kill the computer. So what you have to do to save up on power, it is render only the visible spectrum of the observer. Doesn't that sound like, too familiar to quantum, and how it takes a state once you observe it? So, all those little thoughts. And I am so sorry, me and Ray are the same way. We're deep thinkers, and that's the kind of stuff that I was thinking when I was watching your film.
I'm so glad. First of all, I can't wait to read your article. I'm looking forward to that. That's really cool. This is all the stuff I think about. I'm right there with you. And the idea of the quantum observer, that's Joe to me. It's like we toyed with ideas, and we weren't really able. There's a lot of stuff I would have liked to do. There are some things in there of the idea, like you're talking about with game development, that from a bandwidth efficiency perspective, you only render what you can see, and that is a very good analogy to the idea of the observer state in quantum mechanics. So when Joe is being tortured towards the end of the film, there's another aspect of game development, and also in visual effects, that we talk about a lot, which is like LODs, level of detail. When an object is far away from you in a game, you don't have to use as many polygons. As it approaches the camera and gets close, you increase the resolution and you make it more photorealistic. Well, the idea is, if that's the case, well, then in Hunter's simulation, he could torture Joe by essentially lowering his level of detail. And that was the idea behind that scene. So all those kind of ideas, and thinking about how games are made these days, and visual effects, I think about all that stuff all the time. And there are other Easter eggs in the film, just in regards to, like, when he's walking, if he's not looking somewhere, something changes a little bit, as Hunter's trying to keep up with the errors that he's causing by his behavior. Yeah.
They're glitching out.
On that subject, I just want to say my favorite Easter egg was to the programmers out there when he said, check some errors.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Well,
oh my God!
the introduction of the architect, the old man. I mean, I find it will be a disfavor to even try to compare it to Matrix because it's not similar on the aspect. You even change the major archetypes of the movie completely. You like when you see the architect on the Matrix, you see this man that is completely separated from them. But this guy, he was involved indirectly, and he gave a paternal oracle slash figure
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
vibe. You
And
know,
kind of, I like the idea, like when you see his character, and that's played by the marvelous
it
David.
was sneaky because he brought the coffee, and I was like, "Who's that? The father?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
you don't introduce him at all. He just comes in, and
Yeah,
we have to take him.
there's a quick moment where he's sort of in the newsstand, and Joe walks by near the beginning of the film, and you can tell that he's got sort of a
Mhm.
paternal instinct.
Yes.
Absolutely. But the fun with Oliver, his character and Hunter, is to me is when we get to the point where we start to realize who he is and that he has some importance. And then the scene with him and Hunter in the cafe towards the end, to me, that's God and the devil. That's, whatever you
Yes.
want to call it, it's that was the idea.
I think that I got the actual secret between the lines, and you're gonna confirm it to me. But to me, Hunter is an alter ego of our main guy.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Because
That's
he even explains it at the end. He says like he had everything I needed, but he lacked the compassion.
That's
So
right.
he was using him because he had everything else.
That's right. Like, so, here's Joe in his world, and this was the whole sort of coffee cup out thing I was trying to do. But here's Joe in his world, and here's where Hunter thinks he is, in a level above. But here's where Oliver really is, and
Yeah.
to Oliver, Hunter and Joe are the same thing. They're his his attempts to try to understand humanity and empathy, as someone that can create a level of reality. Yeah.
Not only that, but it's insane that it was like a big moral lesson for the character of Hunter, for the audience, for him to realize that, and then to see that he's treating them all really as equal, even though that he is in another level. He understands that he himself doesn't know what level he is in. And then it comes to the main thing of the movie. It's like, and if it's not the main reality, like who cares? Like,
yeah,
like that. Who cares doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. It means that it doesn't remove that meaning from every single one of us.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, 100%.
So the creation of your creation is still your creation. By proxy.
And I mean, and yeah, admits openly that it's a creation of something else that it doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. In the end, he sort of says, like, I have no idea who made me. Someone did. The chances of us being the final true reality are infinitesimal. And look, this is not an idea I came up with, obviously. I read about this stuff all the time, and there are writers far better than I that have really explored this. One is, I don't know if any of you have read any of Nick Harkaway's books, but he wrote a book called Gnomon, which really dove deeply into this and the idea of the chance of us, if simulation theory in any way is accurate, the chances of us being the original real are so far from possible that it's likely the equivalent of a rounding error. Because if and this also stems from what I've done for a living for so many years with visual effects is like I'm seeing how every year it gets easier and easier to simulate reality. So if we can do that, how could we not look around and say, has someone done that already? And we're the end result,
Well, that's the thing. When you think about, like, I think that The Matrix was a great thing, but it also has his bad parts because he obscured a lot of great movies that came out. Equilibrium was a great movie at the time. The 13th Floor was obscured by it too. It was a great movie with the same concept.
Yeah.
And when you look at the concept, it's completely differently presented. There are other big things also that were precursors to it, like I think the Neuromancer is called. It's a novel from the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the Neuromancer, it's like a big inspiration that brought the Matrix to what it was to. It's like at the end of the day, nothing is born out of nothing.
That's right. Yeah,
and it's what you do with it.
Neuromancer is one of my all-time favorites. It was the first book that blew my brains out, I think, in the early 80s as a kid. But you're absolutely right. And I think, and really, if you're talking about films that there's...
Johnny Mnemonic.
13th Floor. 13th Floor is a really interesting film. Like, I didn't love the film, but the ideas I loved, and I think that there are more similarities with Levels in the 13th Floor, frankly, than Levels in the Matrix. I think 13th Floor really explores that idea of really, in the end, you don't know where you are in reality.
You know, another one that was of those times that did explore deep dive on that, The Existence with Jude Law.
Oh yeah, that was great, Cronenberg. And actually, I'll toot our horn for a second. In Canada, the Canadian Screen Awards, which are for the Canadian Academy of Film and Television here, we are nominated for Levels for Best Visual Effects, and one of the films we're up against is Cronenberg's new film, Shrouds. Which is great, and I'm sure he had a lot more money than we did. But it, it's nice to be in somewhat in that company. That's very humbling. And our visual effects team on this project, they really moved heaven and earth. They had no money and no
they did a
time.
great job.
We did about 500 visual effects shots on a film where that's kind of unheard of at this budget level. So people really, really put their all into doing what they could with this one. And we learned a lot of lessons. And now the next one we're going to try to do for a little bit more money and have a little bit more time. We'll see what happens.
Hey, I gotta, like I normally do. When you were last here, I pitched to an FTL, TV show with, what was it that I said? 5 seasons
Oh, I'd love
or
it.
something
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, why not do a TV show about this one and make them like agents?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Where they
that'd be fun. Yeah, and we were talking about that instead. It's like, we could continue this story for sure. We could. There's certainly with Levels. I mean, there's lots of jumping off points. It's like, well, let's go explore Oliver's level of reality and see what's going on up there, and all sorts of stuff. But not in the immediate cards, at least at this point.
Not only that, but in the note that the movie ends to, it leaves it with like a lot of hope and a lot of like world building sandbox feeling. Because when he sits down on that coffee with them too, with Ash and with Joe, he's talking to them and he's telling them like it's not what you guys create. So it feels like it's like Adam and Eve on a new world. This is just a beginning. Like he gave him a new beginning for them to start. And like you can see the hesitation on them on accepting this reality
You're getting on my sort of spiritual / religious allegory. Like,
that's my area.
I wouldn't call myself a religious person, but 100%, you could view that end scene through the lens of God speaking with Adam and Eve. I mean, that was intentional.
I mean, the fact that you that you gave him, I was like, wait a minute, because the fact that he's the guy and you make him so humble and like on the background. Yeah. So much that I assumed he was a father when I saw him. Even the second time when he goes to the stop and Robert told me, no, he's the guy for the coffee shop. I'm like, yeah, but this guy went to his house to check up on him and brought him coffee. That's just not the guy from the coffee shop.
No.
And then he's like, oh, make yourself at home here then, because he didn't want, like, he's so like intimate with him, like this guy is not just a coffee shop guy. So you imprinted that image of father already on him.
Yes.
And I think him being the big boss and also having that fatherly image, and then they kind of like fall in line with him like effortlessly. Even though when you look at it from a cynical way, he is the one controlling all of this, even allowing Hunter to go and wreak havoc.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that was kind of Oliver's downfall from the perspective of when Ash starts searching for him and realizing that he's kind of hidden himself off the grid because he's feeling tremendously guilty about unleashing Hunter on an unwitting population. So he's got that humility. He's like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this stuff, but here we are, and let's see what we can do with it. Yeah.
It's crazy. You go, Ray.
I was just going to say, I did find the whole Oliver stepping in and helping Hunter get his DU working properly was very much a hand of God moment.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. There's certainly that, and I think in my mind, what's happening there is Oliver's kind of watching this happen. He's like, "Come on, you can do it. Come on!" And he's like, "Oh, I'm impatient. I'm going to help." And I think that's sort of because he felt like with Hunter, he had potentially the brilliant mind that could maybe transcend, from a critical thinking perspective and really be able to create a new universe. And that's what he was going for, to see if he could make that happen. But in the end, it's all hubris, right? And absolutely, it's a Deus Ex Machina moment. It's like, let me pop my hands in there and help this guy along. and then he regretted it in its entirety because it's kind of like the fallen angel with Hunter, right? It's just like the prodigal son that then takes the power and completely corrupts him. Where with Joe he was in theory incorruptible or uncorruptible. Yeah. So yeah.
But Joe was a lot weaker too because he didn't have that self-assuredness of the narcissist. That when the negative hit him, he was about to check himself out.
Yeah,
which is something Hunter would never do because Hunter's too full of himself.
Yes, exactly. Joe honestly believed there was no longer any reason for him to be around because the objects of his love were gone, and so thus there was no reason for him to be around anymore. And that I feel like that was something that we all struggled with a little bit. It was a very challenging thing to try to make work. I think Peter did a tremendous job as our everyman Joe, and I think I felt so bad that day that we were filming because we did this over and over and over again, but he really gave it his all. And to me, I really felt like, okay, no, this guy's Joe. This is what I wanted, and carrying that emotion of complete humility, no narcissism, just absolute grief-stricken destruction. Yeah, and that's sort of where he was. Yeah.
Nothing to lose. He got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
I want to point out something that I actually commented on our watch party with. I mean, I'm on many of the conversations that made that movie as long as it was when it wasn't. I had to mention David Hewlett in a specific scene, and Gio, let me know, if you remember this conversation we were having. I think it was brilliant in the scene where Joe was after him for help, and you could see on his face how he's not there as an avatar,
idle. NPC mode.
NPC mode. And you could see when he entered his avatar. And see it in that?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Nope, I get it.
And then
you can see that several times across the show, and you can see that happening to Joe too on the shooting scene.
That is genius.
The moment he says "enjoy your day" and walks off, it's like, yep, he's left the building.
Yeah. There was so much fun writing that on the page, but Hewlett, like David's he's an amazing individual. He's a great actor. I mean, we had a little bit of a Stargate reunion on this because Amanda Tapping was also the voice of our AI of Mel, but David, really embraced that idea, and we talked about it quite a bit of checking in and checking out of his avatar, and that's all him. He just nailed it. Like just you see it in his eyes. And we gave it a little sauce on top with some sound design, like a kind of a subtle little kind of effect, just to try to drive it home a little bit more.
That's all it took.
Yeah, because we really wanted to just trust the audience with it being, David's performance of embodying the character in front of us, or completely not and letting it run on NPC mode, as you said, which is exactly what the idea was.
I see that, and I see what you're saying is all him, because I honestly feel if you put the volume down completely and just watch that scene, you could still tell.
I agree. Yeah, and that's all him. He's so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's like he would happily be part of this conversation as well. Frankly, I should have suggested we ask him. That's my bad, because he loves talking about this stuff. I mean, he's got his own, like he does Twitch streams online and stuff, and does stuff with kids and technology, and he's fascinated by simulation theory. You should have him on at some point, because he's just got the craziest ideas, and he's a brilliant guy, and he's a great actor and person, but he understood it. He understood what to go for with the character.
That's half the fight right there. If you've got an actor that gets the character and gets the genre, then you're home and hosed.
100%, absolutely. Yeah,
and that's I guess in part, and this is a conversation we had here before, and I guess this is good for the audience to know as well, is the main reason why we technically don't have actors on our show is because it's so hard to find an actor that loves to talk about that character. Typically actors, they learn the lines, they do their job, they do the job great, and they move on to other projects.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to find someone that can really talk about the character and about the film that they were in.
Yeah.
But if we welcome everybody on the show. We would be honored to have him on the show. We can even do another levels episode or talk about a sci-fi that is passionate to him.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he's got lots and lots of stuff to talk about. I would be more than happy to make the connection and see,
Please.
and I'll poke him and see. I haven't spoken to him actually in a while, but actually, when we premiered the for our Toronto premiere, it was him and me that did the Q&A after the film, because he likes this stuff. He's into it and he's interesting, and he's done all this. He's done such a wide range of work, from working like in Guillermo del Toro films, to the Stargate stuff, to being in one of my favorite indie Canadian films from many years ago called Cube, which is a terrific film if you haven't seen it. It's really worth watching, which also plays with ideas about the nature of reality in some respects.
Nice.
And he's really into technologies, into 3D printing and what's happening with biotech and all sorts of stuff. So, I'm sure you guys would have a great conversation with him.
Well, you got Gio on printing and you got me on biotech.
Okay, cool.
Hey, molecular biology down here. Come on.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you guys could absolutely speak with David. Yeah,
Gene manipulation.
Okay, yeah.
Nice. I got to talk about something that is what actually got me. Not only this story, knowing that you created a story when I first learned about this film, because I got exposed to your work, and I am telling you, I am a fan.
Thank you.
And like Gio mentioned, I am not disappointed so far. And when I looked at this film for the first time, when I learned about it, I reached out to Gio, and the cover of the film got us, because we are, and I guess in part that's what happens with FTL also, because both of those actors are in the film and the TV show that we love that is called Expanse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And for all of you out there listening to the show, if you are not familiar with it, we did cover it on, I believe, season 1. So just go back to our back catalog. So the cover, just me and Gio were speechless. And I was like, is that who I think it is? And I remember going and trying to find out the cast. And me and Gio were like, yes, it is who we think it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kara, she's fabulous. And she's been involved in this project. She's the first cast attachment that we had for the project when I wrote it. And I was speaking with my producing partner on the project, and he said, well, who do you see as the role of Ash? And I, without hesitation, I said, Kara G. And it's because of The Expanse. I was blown away by her work in The Expanse. I thought she was you couldn't take your eyes off her. I thought she was great. She had this ferocity, this sort of aggression, but, a deep empathy, and all of these layers of what was going on with her character as a belter. And we reached out to her agent, and he read the script, and he's like, oh, I think Kara, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but my memory of it is, he said, oh, I think Kara's going to like this. And he sent it to her, and we heard back saying, yeah, let's put the deal together. So that for me was thrilling. And also what that did, to be honest, is it gave us the ability to go out and really sell the film, because with her involvement as one of the leads of the film, it made conversations on the financing side much easier, because we could point to The Expanse, we could point to her science fiction fan base. And to make an indie science fiction film, having a cast that appeals to a sci-fi fan base and that they recognize the cast is extremely important. So not only with Kara, but then when we moved on to David and to Amanda Tapping, huge Stargate fan base, obviously. Peter Mooney hadn't really been in any sci-fi. He'd been in some fantasy stuff, but just loved his work, and he also had a fan base for the stuff that he had done, of course. And Aaron Abrams the same way. I had seen an independent film of Aaron's called Nose to
It
Tail.
was amazing.
Oh,
Yes.
he's so good, and he's
Oh my god!
he's like, I remember.
Let me put it this way. He's a flamboyant villain.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny is when I wrote it. I mean, when I wrote Hunter, it was like, I'm not sure. I want, I think he's more of a subtle kind of sociopath, and I sort of imagined him as being a quieter, more subtly threatening guy. And then Aaron comes on to set and he does what he does. I'm like, oh, well, that's better.
You're like, I'm not gonna even tell him anything.
No. He had this. He had
Keep doing what you're doing.
I was. Yeah, and I just like there's a moment, actually. I think one of the moments is in the trailer when he is speaking with Bellamy, his kind of henchman, head of security, and she's sitting there, and he leans in and he says, it doesn't work as effectively, and just the menace in his eyes.
Yes.
That may have been one of the first days he shot with us, actually, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Like this guy scares the pants off me, and that was really interesting. So. Yeah, so I went off on a tangent there on the cast, but like we were really very lucky with the cast, and having Kara really let us sort of start the process of getting this film financed and made.
Well, I'll tell you exactly word by word what I told Robert, because I mean I love Kara. She's like one of the biggest badass of The Expanse.
Right? Yeah.
And the shock of this movie is seeing her being so delicate and vulnerable in a way.
Yeah.
That I feel like it was a shock. I told Robert, like, I'm enjoying this. Like, it was a shock to see this side of her, because as a woman, she's beautiful and elegant, and this side of her just like kind of like lift her up in a pedestal. I was like, wow. And you can see both sides of her, because she has this vulnerable side, but she's on a mission too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think given a little bit more time and blah 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 and money, et cetera, like I don't want to sort of make excuses, but. I would have loved to play even more with the idea. Like even with wardrobe, we had her dressed more feminine, more vulnerable, sort of when she was sort of playing in Joe's world. When we see her for real. I have to keep using air quotes. She's black denim, black jacket, baseball cap, like she's all business. And I would have loved to play more with her lethality, like that she was absolutely a badass. I mean, we see her have a great fight sequence and stuff like that. And she was so excited to do that. Like it was between her and Peter, like all they wanted to do was go train with the stunt guys. They love that stuff. So, so she was just tremendous. And given some more time, I think we would have honed in even more on seeing the contradiction of her being an extremely efficient killer, and also a very feminine, elegant person, in a whole other life,
a heroine through and through.
Yeah.
The alley scene where she beat that guy, the guy who's hunting her down, and then she just let her guard down and walked around the corner. I'm like, no, I can see it coming. And that was part of the subtle humor points.
Yeah.
Because if you're super serious the entire movie, people get all sort of tense, and there's no release for it. And I think you did a really good job of throwing in those little jokey bits, the little bits of humor to take the pressure off. And I think that's really important. And a lot of writers miss that. They just keep doing this, and it gets too much. But when the guy's on his knees in the corridor when he's fighting Joe, and he says, "I don't get it," and
I
Joe
don't
goes,
get it.
Whack! I don't get it either. I saw it coming. It coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
And then when she walks around the corner and it's like clunk, it's like, oh yeah.
Oh no.
That's the callback.
A memorable moment that I liked, because we joke a lot about these guys are not nice to AI, and I am. So when Skynet comes up, I'm gonna be safe. Well, it's when he's leaving. Like, you put that joke in there too, because when he's leaving, he's like, Mel, if I don't ever see you again, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
That was like, nice.
That was his moment of going, I better appreciate her too. Like, I'm getting the fact that, maybe she's the level below me, right? Like,
Yes. It was so good.
Is it bad that I say please and thank you to Alexa?
We have
It might not
stripped
be
all
bad.
Alexa devices out of our house because my wife insists that she doesn't want them listening to us. And I used to make fun of her. I don't make fun of her anymore. I think she was right.
Oh wow, yeah, it's and I just have to mention that because me and Gio we're big fans of The Expanse, and I just have to say her range was proven in this film, and it was so amazing to see that range. Because it's very easy. I mean, she has a very lovable character on The Expanse, and it's very easy to typecast her in that role because she does such a great job. But then seeing this over here, and in part, that is the reason why I was jokingly mentioned about the TV show about this film, because I can envision like an agency, maybe like levels or whatever, right? Where she goes and kick butt, like to
Oh
bad
yeah.
guys on other levels,
Oh,
because
she'd be great. And you know what? You know what's like? I mean, she went out of her way for this film. I mean, low budget film,
Mhm.
indie, all that stuff. She was shooting. I think it's the third season of Sweet Tooth in New Zealand, and
Nice.
she literally and we had to delay production a couple of times on this project, and one of them was to give her time because she showed up on set for Levels, uh, flying directly from New Zealand. So I don't know,
wow,
it was a big travel day. Never mind the jet lag and everything else. She has like a little baby that's just basically just been born that she's sort of
wow,
dealing with that. So she comes directly to us from this, and thankfully, her husband, who is a friend of mine as well, he's another terrific actor. Actually, he's up in he has a good role in the new the crazy, I can't think of the name of it right now, of course, but the Anthony Mackie TV show with the cars and the Mad Max vibe thing. I'll have to think about the name.
mhm.
But anyway, we were lucky because he was able to come with her, and they have 2 kids, and she's like, I'm going to do this film. I'm going to make this happen. And she went out of her way to do it. So, that was very meaningful to us. Yeah. Yeah. I
Nice,
think she really liked the source material. I hope she still likes it.
nice. Um, I
Can I just jump in on technology for a second
yeah.
in its representation in the movie? Because I thought that was one of the sort of pearls of the show was how technology was represented. A lot of times it's sort of overrepresented in things, but I thought that the subtle way that that you brought in the way the phones could change into tablets and the AI, the house AI, and the myriad of things it could do, which actually had a lot of vibes back to the novel that I'm writing with the guy's got an AI in his head. It has a lot of similarities, which I enjoyed. But the one thing that really got me, and it's another one of those little comedic things, I hope, was when the door said security compromised. And I'm like, well, at least the door lets you know that it's not working anymore. Thanks for that, door.
Yeah.
There was another funny joke because when he leaves at the beginning, he says like, "Okay, alarm arm, you got 30 seconds to leave," and that was another like self-destruction like arm system joke right there.
Yeah. There was some stuff in there I was playing with for sure. And actually one of the things that didn't quite, I don't think it quite works, but I had this idea, at least when I was writing it, that, when the alarm was armed in that scene and, when he leaves and his door closed, and this goes back to the quantum observation concept. My idea was that like the whole apartment would power down and the lights would go off in a way that felt too much like it just didn't exist anymore. And I was playing with this idea of that, like when he leaves a space, when he leaves his space, that space doesn't have to exist anymore, and Hunter can use that bandwidth capacity for something else. That was a little hard to communicate, or at least it was beyond my ability to understand how better to communicate it. But that was the idea there. And yeah, with the technology in general, I wanted to play with this idea that this was sort of a universe that could be us in 40 to 50 years, but wasn't quite us. Like it was different enough with like the folding tablets and all that kind of stuff that is this us? Could this be extrapolated to be us? Maybe. But then all of the the Hunter's World stuff, what we called Prime on the page, had a bit of a different feel to it. It's a little more brutalist, a little bit more
Yes.
industrial.
Yeah, because Hunter believed that the world was crap.
Yeah.
And therefore his DU was all shiny and pleasant and sunny.
Where his world was quite brutalist and just functional and not aesthetically pleasing. And that was by intent. Yeah.
No, I saw that. I like that a lot.
Cool. That's great.
That's one thing that really sort of got me. I checked a few reviews and things like that, and I just don't think the reviewers got it. And that's like good for us overthinkers because we dig into it and we can see we pick up what you're putting down. But I think reviewers who just skim the surface miss most of the content, which is sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I learned a long time ago not to put a lot of stock in reviews necessarily. I think that some are better than others. I think there are some critics that are more thoughtful than others. I think it's an easy way to punch down to say it's like The Matrix but cheap. It's like, well, no, that wasn't the idea, and maybe if you watched it and thought about it a little bit more, you would come to a different conclusion. But I have no control over reviewers and what they have to say, so I have to just go with it. But I appreciate the fact, and I've actually heard this from other people that like stuff like this. It's like, do I think it's the greatest movie ever? No. Could I have done better? Yes. Did it get across the ideas that I was trying to get across? I think so. And I've had enough feedback from people like this conversation, which is, certainly I really, really appreciate it, that it does have its audience. People are like, I see what you're doing here. And it made me think. And I've seen reviews online where just regular people, not critics, saying, you should watch this with friends and then talk about it. And that thrills me. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they did.
So no, thank you. I do really appreciate it. And I can't control reviews and I can't control all that stuff, but I like hearing, and I do field some really lovely questions and comments about, I see what this is and it really made me think. And I love that. That is fantastic to me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it certainly did make us think.
Oh my God.
And will continue to make us think. I will be percolating on this for days, I think.
I love it.
Well, I think I'm the only one here has actually watched this film multiple times.
You have watched this movie at different levels.
There you go.
Exactly. Awesome. So, any of you would like to add?
Well, we haven't mentioned the budget. We haven't mentioned the budget outside of the pre-show. And I just wanted to say that you were saying it was around 1.8 to 2 million US, which you wouldn't get a buffet on the set of a AAA movie for that money.
No.
So what you managed to do with what you had is like, I'm just amazed. I'm gobsmacked.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quote another movie, but you're a wizard at him.
I mean, the writing was excellent. The ideas, really make you think. I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't spend enough time on a movie like this to really get what it's putting down. They're just moving too fast, which is, a fact of this level that we're living in. So I was going to say reality, but I think level probably works better. But yeah, I mean, I really applaud what you've done here. It's really, I mean, it's kind of like it's in a cup of noodles container because of the budget you had, but the meal is 5-star, Michelin chef because of the detail. So yeah, don't ever think that you're not achieving anything, because I really think you are.
I do really appreciate that. Thank you. That's very meaningful. I did my best, and I'll continue. Anyone that makes stuff, as I know you guys all know, it's you sort of immediately go, well, that wasn't as good as it could have been. Now I'm going to make a better one, and that's just the nature of creative output. That I think that it's just part and parcel. It's the curse of wanting to make things.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'm already thinking I know what I'm going to do next time, and I know what I'm going to do that's better. But in the end, I'm certainly proud of this. So I do really appreciate it. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah, I surely, and I'm going to echo what Ray mentioned there. I surely was uh, shocked about the price, and it shows the type of quality that this film. And it's a shame we do live in a TLDR
Oh yeah,
society.
yeah.
I think films like that, and for all of you out there who listen to the show, you know that if you made me think on a film, that's it. I'm gonna love that film, and this is what this film does. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen this film, and I still, every time I watch this film, I still find topics of conversation, and that's what.
Then I'm happy. I'm done. That's great. That's all I need to hear. I love that. Thank you. Yeah.
And Gio, you know this. I mean,
Absolutely.
I really enjoy this, and for that, I want to say I think I can speak for the whole crew here by saying, Adam, you are the official favorite writer director of the show.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a huge laurels. I feel very humbled. But thank you. I'll have to make some better films now.
I'm sure
Hey,
you will. You're not giving up anytime.
for the record, it's no competition. I have another favorite writer on this show too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that one over there,
Excellent.
that one. Okay. Adam, I know I want to thank you so very much
Yes.
for a couple of reasons. One is for agreeing to come
Of
back to the
course. My
show.
pleasure.
Like we mentioned, we enjoy your works, and we can't wait to see more. And also thank you for the time that you agreed to be with us. I know your time is very valuable, so we really do appreciate you coming back to the show. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I really appreciate the invitation and happy to do it. And I love chatting with you. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and plug for all the audience. We're going to plug your website, and I believe that's adamstern.com. If I'm
Yeah,
not
the personal,
mistaken.
it's adamlstern.com. Yeah, had to get the L in there for the domain name, but adamlstern.com. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on the show notes, so it'll be just easy for you to click. And also, I'm going to plug in this film. So if you want to stream it or purchase it, there will be a link on the description. Again, Adam, thank you so much, and we can't wait to have you
Thank
back.
you. Well, I'm looking forward to the next conversation. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I gotta ask now, and the reason why we postponed this is because we have a very short time with Adam this time. But I'm going to move on to what we normally ask at the beginning of the show, and we're halfway through it, because I am very curious. And the question for all of you other new listeners is how old were you when you watched this film, and what was your first impression of the thing? I don't know if I want to go last because
Yeah, you've seen it a number of times, so you probably should go last. You've had more time to think. I'll go first. I'll go first. So I found out at the very last minute that we were doing this. Is like, oh yeah, we got Adam on tomorrow. I go, what? So like, quick, watch the movie. Okay. So it's like quarter to midnight on Sunday night, and I'm like, oh shit. Watch this movie. So I dove into it knowing next to nothing about it. I had a feeling that there was something to do with levels of reality because of the name. So my mind was already extrapolating what that could possibly be. And then, it started out like a basic love story, and it suddenly got weird really quick. And I'm like, oh, this is my sort of weird. I like this. And being a writer, I'm not only taking in the movie as an entertainment piece, but I'm also trying to piece together the writing style, what's going on. And I did mention that earlier when we were talking to Adam about, the moments of levity to break up the tension, and the callbacks to movies like The Matrix and Inception, but not so heavily that it felt like a rerun. It had its own nuance, and it never felt like it was taking advantage of what came before. It always felt like it was building on it or taking it in a new direction. And I just can't, like, I really enjoyed FTL, except for one little continuity error, which was, something they couldn't help because the prop wasn't working properly. But I mean, his storytelling is fantastic. And
Yes.
and the fact that you can sit there and explore it for multiple hours longer than the movie goes for is a testament to how much he's got packed into this thing. And if you're listening to us right now and haven't watched this thing, why go and watch it? It has been completely spoiled because being a writer, Adam was careful with what he presented as far as the details of the plot are concerned. So there's still plenty that we haven't talked about yet that you can watch in this movie and see. There's so many little details, little callbacks. I completely didn't have a handle on the theology aspect. Thank you, Gio, for that. That's given me a whole nother level to think about in this movie. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those conversation movies. You can talk about this sucker. So, I mean, I started watching it when I was tired. I was suddenly more awake once it got rolling. And yeah, I thought, oh, I'll watch half an hour of it. I'll go to bed. I'll get up and watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
Nope. Could not put it down. Could not. I paused it to go to the loo. That was about it. That was all I could stand about. Stopping. It was a roller coaster ride. It was a show that kept me hooked. Sure, it could have used an injection of cash to pretty it up a little bit, but really, as far as storytelling and acting was concerned, and also the special effects were very on point. So I don't think Adam's got anything to be disappointed about. I think that the reviewers were the disappointing ones because they didn't get what the movie was about. And the fact that they couldn't admit to that disappoints me, but reviewers being reviewers, like, so.
I honestly feel reviewers need to specialize.
Yes.
I feel that's where the problem is.
We're no reviewers, but that's why you have sci-fi shows that speak about sci-fi instead of people that don't appreciate it and then say things that they don't know about.
Look, my wife is into real crime and crime dramas and all that sort of thing, and I couldn't give a shit about it. People being mean to other people, not that interested. But
I love Hannibal Lecter. Why would you say that?
Oh, now Hannibal Lecter, that's a different case. He's an interesting villain. I'm talking about people who just say, I don't like him. But what I'm saying is that if I asked her to review this, she'd go, whatever. But if she asked me to review her stuff, I go, whatever, because it's not our thing. But I think
you don't like watching stuff about Ted Bundy?
No.
And Manson?
I watch it like once, but she watches every single different take on it, and I'm like,
but I see what you're talking about. I see what you're talking about. It's you can, and that's exactly what's happening. You have genetic, reviewers who are famous, right? But maybe they're famous for reviewing a certain type, but because they're famous reviewers, they got to review everything, and I strongly believe that not everybody is into everything.
No, it's impossible.
I
don't think you could find a reviewer that likes every single genre. It just doesn't work that way. People have their preferences.
Yep.
Exactly.
That is true.
So I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, I mean like waxing lyrical long enough, but yeah, I'm very impressed. Considering how little money they had, super impressed by this movie. Gio, your turn.
I mean, I watched this movie just today, and Robert knows how much I liked it. I really like the concept of this movie because I don't really think, even though it explores around the idea, it's not like the Matrix. Like I could not compare it. I think that all the archetypes are different, and I'm not talking about switch them up. They're completely different. Even though the scenario might be comparable, an entire different thing is happening here than the Matrix.
Yeah.
A complete different scenario. It has nothing to do with the Matrix when you think about it. Because the whole message behind the
Yeah.
Matrix is trying to grab you and put you into Neo's journey. In here, it's taking you out of Neo and putting you into the many other people that live in that world that are being disregarded and are equal part, integral part of that reality. That's Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, I never understood, when he was mentioned about reviewers saying, I was just like a cheaper version of the Matrix. Now, I disagree.
I mean, there are points of similarity, but there's not that many that it's
It,
directly comparable. So how could it be a cheaper version? It's got
I,
its own story.
I think it's incredibly
Yeah.
tragic that Matrix took a monopoly on simulated realities. That's not like what like that's what people are like kind of inferring with their words. Is that whatever talks about simulated realities? Oh, that's Matrix already. No, it's not. It doesn't belong to the Matrix. You know.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I really love the 13th floor. And when you mentioned that, it's a shame. It got
Obscured.
I'm not claiming that the 13th floor is an amazing film. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and I really liked the way that it made me feel after I watched it and how I was thinking of all the stuff. I feel this movie had the many turns that I mean, I don't know about you guys, and I'll probably talk about. I'm sure I'm
Nah,
interjecting into
no, you're
your
good, man.
comment, Gio. But there be many times in this film where I had to double take. Things just took me by surprise. I was not expecting it.
Yep.
And I'm talking about obviously the very first time that I watched it. So, Gio, you can continue. I'll go after you.
No, no,
Sure.
no. I think that kind of like in a general way kind of encompasses my what I have to say. I think that this movie has a lot of original touches,
Yes.
and honestly, when you look at it, and like I don't know if you noticed, but when I told Adam how Oliver is no saint, he was like, "You got me," like I totally got that. When you look at the movie in a cynical way, Oliver is the scientist guy, just like playing with the ant hill in his lab, you know and I mean, at the end, if you think about it, he was exploiting Hunter, you know, because
Mhm.
Hunter was able to do what he was not doing, you know. So it was a fun trip, and I think that he elegantly tried to pull everybody's rug under their feet at the end of the movie by doing that, but still kind of gives you a good ending. It's not like everything is done. I think that he did a great job with delivering the message of something being destroyed or disintegrated. Blank space is the perfect uh, medium for you to kind of like convey that message. Black and void is not that, but he did it. He actually went ahead and went for blank void space when he was disintegrating the world, and it did give a sense of everything is disappearing when you look at it. Like it gives you a sense of there's nowhere to go. You know.
Yeah. So, for me, right, I can remember when in 2024, as you all know, Adam was on our episode for FTL. It was a happy accident. We were,
Sorry, La Power Line.
as you all know, this show is addicted to dust. We have covered so many dust productions that I don't know how dust doesn't call us and and Dust, if you're listening, we're happy to have any of you on our show as well. But it was a happy accident, and the reason why I said that is because we're watching uh, this an encounter FDL, and I fell in love with the story. And of course, I reached out to Adam if he wanted to be on our show because we wanted to cover it. And we were pleasantly surprised when he said, yes, I'll be on. And if you guys go to our back catalog, you'll find the episode on FTL. Another great episode with Adam talking about his film. So sometime, and I can remember sometime in 2024, we have his Instagram account liked on our Instagram account. And I noticed that he was posting about his new movie. And I reached out to Chaos immediately and I told him, do you know who's in his movie? Have you seen this cover, the movie cover? I don't know if any of you would like to show the cover of the film on here for the audience. Unfortunately, that would be only for the audience on YouTube, because if you're listening, you might want to just click on the links to see the cover or search it yourself. But when I reached out, and for all the other, that's basically the cover of Rebels. I could not believe. Obviously, the name is clearly there. You know, Carrie G and Peter Mooney. And I reached out to Gio. I don't know if you remember this conversation, Gio. It's like, you remember
He's so
Adam
beautiful, man.
Stern, that he was on our show for FTL? Did you know that he has a new movie? And do you know who's in that movie? And I sent an image of the cover to Gio. And do you remember your response, Gio? Do you remember?
Hell yeah, yeah. I was excited for that, man. It's like
Well, you know,
when you have a great experience watching somebody do such a great role with a character that they make a fan out of you. So it's like the role that they're having is gonna be a plus, but you're happy. It's like it fills up your heart to see more of them in the screen because they did such a great job.
you know,
It's like when I watch Henry Cavill, for example, when I watch Chris Bale, for example, when I used to watch anything about Heath Ledger, man, for example, or Robin Williams. Like whenever you will see Robin Williams, you don't care. You wanted to see him. Jim Carrey. You know, Jim Carrey will come. You
mhm.
knew that you don't care. You know that you wanted to see him. She's like that. She's an actress that everything they bring, you're gonna enjoy it because they're such great performance.
I
And I mean,
I
Adam Stern.
I go
I
with
mean,
Arnold Schwarzenegger for that one.
well, I was gonna make a comparison, but I didn't think it was fair. But the shock to me of seeing her playing this role and seeing her vulnerable side would be like seeing Schwarzenegger without the accent doing a serious movie like about like sci-fi plot and like he's a scientist, no action. Like you cannot picture it, right? Like I saw a whole other side of her. I saw that she is like, you see. Okay, let's get geeky here. You see when you play an MMO and you have like that bar with like all the stats and it always goes like 3 points only. Like her stat bar, like she showed me, is completely full going in all directions.
Wow.
Full stats, man.
Yeah. And the thing, and going back to my first reaction, what really called me about this is two reasons. I already know what Adam Stern can do because like I said before, I am a fan. Uh, so far, everything that he has done, I really, really enjoyed it. And by the way, if you haven't watched the Adept, it's a Dust production also. I don't know why we haven't covered it. We should cover it. It's a short film on par to FTL. He produced that, so I already know what Adam does, and I know I love it. I already know what Kara G does, and I love it. So when I saw these two things, you know, combine into this movie, I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this. And to be honest with you, I couldn't find a place to watch it. I couldn't find a place to, I believe the nearest cinema that was playing the movie was in Miami, which is about 2 hours and a half, maybe 3 hours
Yeah, it
away
was
from
a
me.
decent drive.
It would be a distant drive. So I was disappointed and still are I might have
It's
to
literally
like
across Florida, Robert. Across Florida, Southwest, like on the other side of the state.
the other side of Florida. Yes. So I'm still disappointed I didn't get to watch it on the big theaters. I might have to bring my projector out one time.
With this,
So the
with the
next
Sonos
obviously
equipment that you have, man.
exact. So I know what Karaji does. I know what he does. I know what Adam does. I couldn't find a way to stream it. What did I do? I just bought the film. And I was glad that I did because I couldn't tell you how many times I watched this film after I purchased it. It's amazing. So I and I don't know if you guys got I'm afraid that I might have um ruined it for Gio because I remember calling him immediately after I finished watching it, trying not to spoil the film, but I believe that in my talks I kind of spoil it in a way.
No, no, no.
But
I was gonna say it, but we were so short time, and I didn't want to like take time for you two guys to interact with Adam. But the
mhm,
thing with this movie and the thing with Adam's movie, I think I'm making this is you guys are presenting the making of a new language bar for stats, but Adam movies are not for surface dwellers of movies. You know, it's for the
yes.
bottom dwellers, the people that like to rewatch something, that like to dissect the movie, the things that we do. You
Mhm,
know, that we're not talking about the movie itself so much, but more about everything that is happening in it. You know,
mhm,
and that's the kind of movie that he does. I've spoken about this because it's not only on movies. Well, I saw that. I don't know if you guys noticed. I had instrument there. We didn't even get the chance to touch on that. But he probably agree with me and you guys because you probably have heard. But like, there's music bands, for example, that I like, and when I hear them, like rock metal bands that even metal people don't know because it's music for musicians, you know. And just
mhm,
like that, I'm sure I've read some of it, like the Infinite Years from David Foster Wallace, which I love. It's a novel that almost nobody starts and finishes. It's a novel or a piece of writing that is made for writers. Usually, the people that I found that are interested in that are other writers of some sort, you know. And there's always some kind of art medium that is only appreciated by a high thinking group that is drawn to art in that manner. You know, it's like I feel that way because the other day I was looking for something to watch and like I could not like watch anything, and I was like, you know, when you're brain dead and you don't really want to like do anything else, but like put something on the TV. And what did I ended up watching because I didn't have anything to watch? I ended up putting a documentary about ancient Rome, Rise and Fall. 2 hours, and I didn't sleep through it. I watched it, and it was entertaining to me. Why? Because I couldn't just find anything that was like stimulating that I could watch, and it's not like I'm gonna be like, "God, this is so stupid," you know.
yeah. So yeah, I couldn't wait, and I was excited that I bought it, and I really enjoy it. And this is a part that I was going to mention that I think I ruined it, and I don't know if I did ruin it. You let me know, Gio, if I did or not. But if I ruin it for you, that means you did not get to enjoy the last twist in the film,
Nah,
which
I,
is what I really really enjoyed.
I think that
I
the last
really
twist
enjoyed.
grabbed you harder than me, even that one we were watching.
Well, the first time that I watched it, it really grabbed me. I was not expecting that the Oracle was actually in a higher level.
Oliver. But
Oliver.
I think it
So
was poetic how even like the message that he gave, like I said, is like even him being in a higher level, he didn't saw himself as more important than them. Even though in action he kind of did, but then he kind of correct himself and fix that, you know. And at the end, he admitted like he's not like I think that in a way that concept of we are one and the same in different experiences, he kind of brought all of
mhm.
that in there. He brought it home at the end of the movie when Oliver kind of like explains like even him he doesn't know if at what level he is.
Now that prompts me for the next question that I was going to ask. Unless before I do, I don't know if Ray has anything to add to that to the train of thought that we're on.
No, you covered it.
Okay, so that leads me to a question that I was going to ask. You already know what twist, if any, grabbed you in this film? And for me, like I alluded earlier, it's the ending. It's the fact that although I was expecting it, right, because it's obviously the name of the film, right? It is very obvious, and I was expecting it. It still is that I might have expected someone else for some reason, but in retrospect, I should have expected Oliver to be the one that was actually on a higher level. And I remember that really took me the very first time that what? And I had to double take. It was very enjoyable for me to experience that. And that is the one thing that I regret about watching this film so many times, is that I only got to experience that once. And although I do enjoy for the conversations to mine, I mean, for crying out loud, the last time that I watched this film, it got me thinking so hard that I had to write an article for our show on our Substack to alleviate that. And those are the kind of conversations. Every time I watch it, I am in the same way. So yeah, I did. That's the one thing that I could regret, that you can't experience something like this twice. But it was really enjoyable for me, and I was kind of hoping that that would be something that you guys would enjoy as well when you watch this for the first time. So that leads me to the question, and you guys can go in any order you like. But what turns or twists, if any, grabbed you in this film?
Are you letting me go first?
You're on top today, on the bottom.
Well, the sudden murdering of the girlfriend at the very start was, as Adam said, to shock the viewer into being engaging the viewer in the questions of the movie, as why the hell was she murdered? What was she about to reveal before she was murdered? Who's this guy who just walks up and puts a bullet in somebody's head like it doesn't matter? So that was probably the only one that really got me, because by the time the hints were being dropped, I was picking them all up. And the immediate thing, like, you read the name of the movie, Levels, and you go,
Yes.
okay, how deep does the rabbit hole go? That's the immediate thing that my brain goes to. How many levels are there? So when you've got Hunter, who's playing God in the DU that Joe lives in, and you've got the girlfriend running around in there, falling in love with
Ash.
digital Ash. Thank you. Ash doesn't seem to me to be a girl's name to me, but every time somebody says Ash, I think about Army of Darkness. So yeah, that one. Yeah, so that's the one that my brain tends to go to when I hear the name Ash, which is why it doesn't stick with me. But yeah, the Ash is running around falling in love with people, that she knows are digital entities, not knowing that she herself is a digital entity. So it's a nice little whoopsie there, the way that was presented. But
Congratulations, you play yourself.
That's right. Won't be the first time, won't be the last. But the idea that if there is one level, how many there can be many levels, and the fact that Oliver is aware of that and isn't completely convinced that he's not a digital construct himself, was a nice little throwback. But I was. When the guys broke into Oliver's apartment and attempted to kill him, I say attempted because they didn't know that they were dealing with the equivalent of a god to their digital reality. But he's like de-resing. It did give me a Tron vibe.
Yeah.
he was being poisoned. And he was losing fidelity and the ability to move because he was dying, which I'm quite sure he did just to throw Hunter off, to let Hunter think that he was
Yep.
winning.
That's what I thought.
Um,
That's what I thought he was doing when he was dying. I was like, this guy's not
Yeah.
dying, man.
Yeah,
Not that
exactly. He's going down too easy. This isn't. I was doubting everything at that stage, and I was right. So yeah, I didn't get fooled by that
Like,
one.
like a true scientist. Question.
That's right.
everything.
Here's the thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he felt like he intended for everybody, for the audience, to understand that reality was not prime, because everything looked like odd from the very beginning. Even the way that they met, it's very like they put it on a way that you might feel this happened over several times. She coming, not really like in that very first day she arrived, she talked to him, and then she invited to go out. If you look at the storytelling, you can tell that by the moment that they are on the back alleyway taking the picture, the way I felt the story was told, even though it looks like it's continuum. To me, it's like there's time passing by before they make it to that alleyway and take that picture. To me,
There was
days, yeah, 2 weeks,
definitely.
right?
And the conversations that went on, there was little hints sprinkled all through them. Like when he says, I'd really like to know what you do for a living. She says, oh, it's complicated.
Yep.
It's like, I was sus from the very beginning, but the title of the show told me to be sus, basically.
Yep. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, to me, it felt like from the beginning, the movie intended for you to know or feel like the main scenario was not that prime reality neither, that it was a level. So and that's why I'm saying like this is for like bottom dwellers, deep thinkers. It's like the movie. It's like playing a video game. It's like playing a Dark Souls video game. It's like it's for grinding. Like you gotta like your mind being like stimulated on these topics. A lot of philosophical and technological deep dive.
Oh yeah, this movie, despite its low budget, hit all the right notes for me. Thank you, Robert, for putting me onto this one.
Yeah, I
He
like.
touched all his buttons.
I really enjoyed
Yeah.
the film. I really did. Gio, your what was your? I'm sorry, Ray. You finished with your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, to wrap up what I was saying, it was only that first murder that kind of surprised me, and then the moment that she was about to reveal something, she gets murdered, and then the guy disappears. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to be sus about everything from here on out. And so I don't feel like I got surprised by anything after that, because I was extrapolating the possibilities all the way through watching this, which is why I could not stop it. I could not go off to bed and not know what happened.
Yeah. Okay, so Gio, your turn. What if you don't?
For me, it was not the shooting scene, just because the trailer kind of gives it away. In the trailer, they show that she dies. So I had that information like for the starters, happening. To me, it was the final twist when after Hunter kills Oliver and he's about to just end it all, and he just deleted the DU. Oliver pops in right at the moment and brings Joe. Like that moment, just like you say, like playing the hand of God right there, like that moment was to me like yes, and it kind of flipped everything, because it's like okay, so which reality? And at the same time, I'm thinking like, oh, and Robert gets his happy ending because the guy didn't die at all.
Did we
Well,
know?
let's just say that I was waiting for the shoe to drop, because I knew that Oliver wasn't that much of a pussy. He wasn't that easy to take down. And the fact that Robert didn't say, oh, I don't like the end of this, because anytime that it's got a bad ending, he tells me. So I knew it didn't have one, so I was just waiting for it.
Yep.
Oh,
You do telegraph the punches of movies, Robert, even if you don't spoil them.
sorry.
You can't help yourself.
I really enjoyed this. And I mean, did you guys see what I was talking about? And I know there's a lot of things that are involved in this, and we don't know if this is something that could happen, a possibility that many things have to align for something like this to happen. But I don't know if you guys agree. I see this. I would really enjoy to see this as a TV show where the Joe or a version of Joe and a version of Ash, because I know that getting those same actors could also be a difficulty.
Yeah.
Are like agents, sent by Oliver to different levels where they can correct maybe mistakes of something, and seeing action scenes where they're fighting, level bad guys that are trying to do something to a specific level. And that when I was watching, the last time, I kept on thinking about that. It's like, this would have make for a great TV show. And I don't know how long. I mean, obviously, the longer it is, the better it is for me. But I kind of saw that, and I wanted to share that with you guys and get your thoughts and see if you see that could be a possibility, or maybe I mean, I know it might not be because like I said, a lot of things have to play into part for that. But I would love to see something like that.
There are, pros and cons to all that sort of thing. Certainly, if they became like level agents, it would start to feel a lot more Inception-y,
Mhm.
I think, because the Inception agents was a pretty big thing. Then, of course, you've got the expense of the CGI. It was quite CGI heavy.
Yes.
And TV shows that have a lot of CGI are very expensive per episode. So they'd need a fair amount more backing than they had for the movie to get a series which required that amount of CGI to happen regularly. I'm sure that Adam could write a really engaging story about it.
Yes.
He showed in this movie that he had enough plot twists and ideas that to play out that there was more to come. I mean, I could see a better funded sequel doing a lot better.
Yes.
But yeah, the TV show might be a little bit of a stretch based on the amount of CGI. But of course, as the technology improves and it gets cheaper to do, it might become a real possibility.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, just if you want to use a comparison, remember Space Sweeper, how many millions of dollars, and the movie is very predominantly done in CGI. I
Yeah.
could venture to say like 99% of the movie. Oh, yeah, 95% of the movie is CGI because half of the cast is even in CGI, you know? And I mean, when you look at it, even Adam said like they were very limited by the budget. And when you look at what he did with what he had, the guy did magic actually.
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh,
still
yeah.
delivered. He still delivered. It doesn't look. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look bad at all. You know, he made it in a way that it looks natural. You know, it's not like we're trying to sell you something that is supposed to be more realistic. Even the glitches and everything were purposely made that way, so you could feel like something was off. But when you have seen like when you're in the coffee, when he's on the coffee shop, it looks very natural. It looks oh man, it looks Hallmark TV kind of show. It looks when they're in the apartment, when they're in the coffee shop, or in the on the bookstore. It looks like a Hallmark show. Every other scene, goofy, love birds.
Did you catch
Do
the
you think
title of the book?
Say what, Ray?
Did you catch the title of the book that he picked up that was a special order?
No.
What it means to be human.
Nice.
Robert, how many times have you watched it and you didn't pick that up?
Yeah, that's another thing that I got.
You see how it's full of little details. You see how
Yeah.
it's full of little details. It's
I
like
love
it's
the
all over
little
movie.
details. I love it.
Yeah.
It feels like, honestly, it almost feels like that film that we covered, Gio, that we had to like probably was like 6 hours. What was the name of that? It's virtual reality
Ready
too. It's a
Player One.
game.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. You pause it and there's a million other like minor details that you have to. And I'm sure if I rewatch it again, I'm gonna
It's an
pick up more.
Easter egg
that I-
fest, and it's deliberate.
Yep.
Exactly. Gio, question for you: was it the Hallmark, film, kind of like the story that I wrote for Science Fiction Remember?
Yeah, it
Hallmark's
pretty much starts like it. It pretty much starts like it,
love story.
and then it gets very fucking interesting. Actually, it's funny that you said that you really don't like how it ends because it's not a happy ending,
No, I don't.
but I love it.
I don't. I don't. I wrote the story and I don't. Um, so yeah. This film. And I guess I gotta ask the next question because I'm really curious about you guys, you guys' thought. And maybe I would go first. There might be, and I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on this, a specific scene or well, basically just scene on this film that you thought it would or might be your favorite scene. And I know the question might be slightly hard for this film because of, I consider this entire film to be amazing. Um, and I would go first, I guess, just to give you an example of what the answer that I'm kind of like going for. Um, but like this film is heavy in CGI, and we are so surprised that it cost as much as it did. I was not expecting that cost because it looks on par to like heavy hitters on sci-fi. One of the scenes that I would have to say among many, and believe me when I say this because I love this film, that I really enjoy, that I think it was beautifully made, was the scene where he was pushed off the window
Oh
and how
yeah, how he falls. Love that scene.
he kind of paused in midair and you see the glass all around,
Oh,
and how
you're talking about Joe trying to die.
Joe
Okay.
Joe exactly, and the
Yeah.
supposedly
No, I thought you were talking
yeah,
about Hunter falling off from the big building, which I loved.
that's another scene.
I
But
could almost comedically hear on my head a guy on the background screaming. "Ah!"
Not a Wilhelm scream.
pretty much pretty much um you can actually look it up, have it queued on your phone, and when that scene comes in, just play it, and it would be awesome. It would be epic. No, but I really enjoy that scene and also what it made you feel, right? So the next scene that you see, goes to black, comes back, and Joe is waking up in bed. It tries to gaslight you into thinking that
It was a dream.
he was dreaming it.
Mm.
Is that a term? I mean, can I say
Yeah,
gaslight?
yeah, you can.
Um,
That's what it
I
means.
really, I really like how that was
And what did I say,
I
Robert? What
really,
did I say? How dangerous, how a very vivid dream can make you question if you are alive or not. Because when
yeah,
you look at that scene, you're like you're following the whole continuum of the movie. But when you separate that scene and you think about yourself, it could happen to you. You could just wake up any other day and think that you had a whole life in a person
yeah,
that you fell in love with across so much time, and it was just a very vivid dream, but you remember it. You remember all the years of the weeks. It has
yeah.
happened.
So that's kind of like the question that I'm asking. Like, if he had, I don't know if he did or not. I'm just kind of curious. And again, I'm going to preamble by saying I know it's a hard question because I can easily pick a scene on this film, just because of the way the whole thing was designed, from the writing all the way to the special effects. So whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. I'll be quick. When Hunter and Oliver are talking on the cafe, and Hunter,
Ooh,
like the way the conversation goes is very tense because you can feel a lack of like self reliance on Oliver to defend himself or anything. So you almost feel like the ship went to the wolf's den to negotiate with the wolf, like thinking that she is just like him. That's what it feels like. Like Oliver, even though he has this father paternal archetype kind of thing, Oliver gives you also vibes of an actual sheep in wolf skin, and that's scarier than a wolf in sheep skins. A wolf in sheep clothing, you can expect it, but a sheep in wolf clothing is like, what are you doing? You're a walking riddle. Like, what? You know? And that's what Oliver did when he went there, had that conversation with Hunter, and let him kill him. And the way that even like Adam actually portrayed he died in a virtual way and not really like disappearing, like just glitching out there, sitting down and like uh, kind of like agonized. I think it was amazing because it was him telling him, "I'm dying." But it's like, no, man, that's like my other avatar inside of the avatar.
You think that Oliver's version of poor acting? Oh, I'm dying.
I mean, if you put glitch over that, that's perfect. Oh, he was a great actor, man. He did a great job.
He was
Because
amazing.
I don't know if you remember too, like when Ash goes and meets him the first time, and what did I tell you? The moment that he was on the screen, and we realized, what did I tell you? He's the freaking Oracle. That was the first thing that I said. It's hidden on play side, and then what's the most funny thing is the appearance that he has. He has the teacher professor look, very scholar guy, not very technological techie guy kind of looking, you know. Not at all.
Oh,
The guy that was
made that up when she went to meet him. She goes, "Oh, you like everything analog, don't you?"
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
he looks like. That's his whole like image. So he's really literally like hiding in plain sight all along, which is actually kind of like also like poetic justice to his character that he's right there. He's like the hot dog guy stand. Like, wow. I think that there's a very existential message hidden just on the character itself of like how important or how imperative he is to that reality. Yet he's the most like the first guy that you're gonna pass by and not really even think of or even notice in the street. You know, and he's
yeah.
there every day.
You
That's
know,
crazy.
once you made me aware, Gio, of Oliver and the whole devil god thing,
Oh, the whole
because
archetypical character setup.
well, you look at the fact that the devil is just one of God's angels who's fallen, so he's
Yeah.
not on the same level as God. And this was
Yes.
exactly the same. Oliver was on a higher level than Hunter, and Hunter didn't realize it until the very end. And then Hunter
Yep.
took a long walk off a short pier, so he wasn't going to be around anymore to lament his short-sightedness. But it was really interesting the way that Oliver was portrayed in that sort of biblical sense, and I'm getting more and more of a feel for it as you're discussing it.
Now, let me ask you if you guys felt this about Oliver, because I wanted. It's like we didn't have time to ask Adam that many stuff, but the way I felt about Oliver, because I was trying to study him, as you can tell, what I was kind of realizing about him is he was aware of the bad parts of Hunter, and he was kind of like at the beginning when he actually meets Hunter and they show him, it looks almost like Hunter is taking Oliver by a fool. It's like, yeah, whatever, you just give me the code I need so I can finish whatever I need. That's the story given at the beginning, and you see that when he's looking at the code, he's not even paying attention to Oliver. He's just looking at the pad, and then he shakes his hands like not even looking at him.
Yeah.
So he sells very well the idea. This guy is using Oliver as a means to an end. And the truth of the matter is the whole opposite thing. So we know that Oliver is well aware of all of this. And the way that Adam like gives it up at the end tells me that Oliver really was aware of this. He was still choosing to turn a blind eye on the bad things because he was getting more pros than cons. So he was willing to actually conduct all the things. And then at the end, it was like he just couldn't hold it anymore. It was like, okay, man, like you're really just like screwing this up, and I'm giving you such a chance. I'm gonna just like take the tools out of your hands.
Well, Oliver had that sort of fatherly position of, well, you're my creation, so I'm kind of like your father, so I've got to sort of help you grow, guide you, and I really fucked that up.
Yep. And honestly, I think that the moment that he kind of like explains Hunter to Joe and Ash, and he says like he had everything but the compassion. In that moment, he described him like he was describing everybody else. Algorithm generated virtual person. You know, he became that the moment that Oliver described it like that. It was like he had everything but the compassion. So he deconstructed Hunter in that moment because he made it a tool.
Oh,
You know?
totally. Because Hunter was treating everybody in his DUs as a tool, whereas
Exactly.
the courts were saying no, they're digital entities and they should have rights. And then Hunter discovered that he was just the same thing, and Oliver started treating him that way, and he didn't like it. It's like, well, suck it up, buddy boy. You were doing exactly the same thing 5 minutes ago. In fact, you deleted all those people.
Not only that, but also like how he actually breaks off from the torture that Hunter was doing on Joe. Like that, even though people might say, "Oh, we got Neo vibes in there," it makes you wonder. It's not really Neo vibes. It actually goes into a deeper message that even though we might be prisoners on a system, it's like you even like stop concentrating on what you cannot change. You can change only how you perceive and react to it. And I think that that is the whole message on like Joe liberating himself from Hunter when he's being tortured. It's not Neo on the one because he didn't went into like outside of the machine, but he freed himself from being controlled, even if it was in nothingness. He was not in his control anymore. You know,
I think it was free by Oliver.
it could have been.
And it would.
So you don't think that the struggle that he expressed and act out in there was like he breaking off from that? It was more like Oliver helped him, and it was sealed up when the transfer happened.
I believe that was the question at the end, where they were saying that number one, Oliver was the one responsible, which I thought it was Ash, but Oliver was the one responsible for preventing him from getting killed in his apartment when they
Yes.
came in. Oliver was also responsible for stopping Hunter from torturing him when he was getting the rest, because actually he mentioned that. And he's also responsible for bringing Joe a level up. So he had a lot to play in there. And it makes me wonder, and I'm sorry, Ray, I know we haven't touched on your answer yet, but it makes me wonder if Oliver inadvertently or willingly became became the bad guy, and then realized this, and had a change of heart enough to kind of make amends and change his, the way. Because if you think about it, he is responsible for Hunter. We don't know, because it was not expressed in the film, what was his uh end game. All we know is that he did say it was a mutual relationship when he was having the conversation with Ash about dealing with or helping Hunter. So there's obviously, based on that conversation, he needed something from Hunter, and he enabled him to be able to do. Because remember, Oliver is the reason why Hunter is able to create these um
Digital universe.
Virtual worlds.
multiples, and he's also able to see, for obvious reasons, when you see in this film. So couldn't he just see that he had gone through 400 simulations and have killed all those people, and he hasn't done anything until now? So
Yep.
it makes me wonder, was he really a bad guy that turned thief, or is he still a bad guy and he has another end game with Joe and Ash?
Not only that, but something that I love very much about Adam and the way that he writes is that he likes to play around with the tinfoil hat things. because the whole idea that there is something that is using our power or suffering as an energy source, which is what they do with this virtual world. They put it to whatever, and that powers something, because that's how they talking when the world is breaking down. It's like it has to be functioning properly because we're feeding from it. So whatever they're doing to this humanity is powering something. That is actually a conspiracy right there.
Well, no, let me explain
So,
that.
or an
Because
idea, it's very interesting that he played with that too.
they briefly touched into that. So basically, what they're doing is they're using this world because every civilization, if we
Yeah.
if you know history, goes through levels of incremental science discoveries and scientific realizations. So
Hmm.
all he was doing, which is very powerful. I mean, if you think about it, if we could create something like that, it would be freaking incredible, where you have a scientific problem, where you are require a scientific solution. What better than having an entire civilization discover that for you?
Yeah. An assimilation.
And that's what he was doing. And he was destroying, and he's gone through 400 simulations on many different things that he wanted to solve scientifically.
Yep. Not only that, but when you think about it, I think that the actor Aaron Abraham did a great job when it came to like selling you out that he was a time ticking bomb, because across the whole movie you can see that he's very reactive, and that he is like his ticks are constantly giving away, like, oh, it's about to like burst, I'm about to like just lose my shit. Like, he gives you this whole thing across the movie because he's like kind of like tense all the time, and then out of nowhere, when something is uncomfortable, he starts like ticking, like moving his leg or something, and you can see like like the anxiety like boiling up on him. He sells that role so good all across the movie that it keeps you over the toes every time you see him. Like, that he's gonna, every time that he's on the screen, shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah. I think I think I want to say something that you guys let me know if you agree with this or not. But I think this is the first movie that I see science as the bad guy.
No, there's been plenty of us.
Yeah? You think?
Well,
Yeah.
think about it, Robert, because like the most common thing, and Ray kind of relate to this, is scientists getting so lost into their experiment that they don't even really
No,
care about the consequences happening. Or they're like, yes, it's happening, and everything is just crumbling around them, and they're just like, all right, it happened.
Can I quote a movie from the 90s?
I
Yeah,
get
it's alive.
I get that. I
What?
get scientists, but I'm talking about
Quote it, Ray, quote it.
I'm talking about science being the bad guy, not scientist being the bad guy.
But scientist, Robert, yeah, you telling me that a scientist is not science on the movie? That's like
Yeah.
that.
They're intrinsically linked. You can't have science without a scientist sciencing.
A white like look. If you have a white lab coat on a movie, that's science.
Ray, go ahead and quote.
What's it called?
You were so busy wondering if you could, you didn't stop to think whether you should. Jurassic Park.
Yes. Yes.
And that's just one example of many.
Yeah. But
Yep.
see, for some reason, I'm thinking science as a, what's the word that I'm looking for? Because, and maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe it's just the point of view that I'm choosing to pick at this particular moment. I see many examples where scientists are actually the bad guys. There's tons of examples. I mean, the whole thing of mad scientists came from this whole spiel on science fiction, right? But use the actual subject of science, because you quoted Jurassic Park, right? And that's basically a scientist. And again, I don't know if I'm maybe drawing straws here, but the way that I look at it is I see scientists doing, not thinking if they should, right? And again, we're talking about just one example, right? There's so many out there, but this one is not singling out a specific scientist, but the whole, we have this technology and we are going to use this technology to solve scientific problems. And that's what I was going with that comment. But maybe
Well, they're not necessarily scientific problems. They could be social problems. They could be political problems. It's not just science. You're simulating a reality. And in that reality, if you make it close enough to your reality, it can tell you things about your reality that haven't happened yet. It was stated in the film. That's what Hunter was doing.
Yes.
He was trying to solve problems before they came up, because once you fuck the world up, it's too late.
Yeah. And he did. I mean, we saw, which is horrible, wars and how entire civilizations ended. And where he had to like shut it down, which is horrible to see. Okay, let's go back. Let's rewind.
I'm
Wait, because I mean, what you guys are talking about, there's one experimental example that we actually did on the 70s. I think it was called Universe 25. If you don't know what it is, go to YouTube and just type it, and you'll see how a simulated universe can really affect an entire group socially. Of course, experiment with rats, but it was very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, you were saying, Ray, sir?
I was going to say that the whole concept of testing scenarios and social experiments and political experiments and all that sort of stuff in a digital universe is very much like the multiverse theory, where if a decision has been made in our reality, there's another reality where the opposite decision was made or no decision was made. So they all exist out there and now evolving and occurring along their own timeline and event line, which is different from ours. So it's kind of like doing the exact same thing, but in an observable way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so what I was saying is to go back, because I know we completely skipped you, Ray, and I want to hear your answer. The original question, if you forgot, is if
no, I know what the question is. I'm good because I've been waiting.
Okay.
I've been waiting. So there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I enjoyed.
Yes.
But I think the first one that really grabbed me was when he went to shoot himself in the head and the gun wouldn't work.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, this guy's just got no luck with guns. Especially now that scene went from attempted suicide. Well, I'm sort of looking at the way it was built, from the attempted suicide all the way through to the fight in the corridor.
Yes.
And my whole feeling was this guy has no luck with guns because he can't shoot himself. He can shoot the pillow, and then the home AI system goes, I registered a gunshot. Should I call the authorities? He's like, no. It was just an accident. But
he played with the dangerous security. Is really no privacy neither. Right there.
None at all.
He went.
It's like, damn it! I cannot even have a shootout in my house in peace.
He shoot out the bad guy. What happened? He shot the freaking wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. That scene right there, before you guys move on, what it really gave you is how like he kind of dismantled the false sense of security that all of this communication create. It's like, look, he went and be attacked for a guy, and if he couldn't defend himself, it's like there's nothing that can stop this guy from killing him, really. You know, all these security systems for the after the thought fucking talk, like it's like, is that gonna resolve anything? It could have ended very badly for him, you know.
The whole way that sequence from the attempted suicide to the fight in the hallway with the interloper, it was built so fantastically well in the writing and the execution. He walks in with a pistol. He loads it. He sits down. He goes to shoot himself. The gun won't work. Now, I did want to actually ask Adam, but I didn't get a chance because we were so busy with our conversation, whether or not that was Oliver or whether it was Ash or whether it was something else.
It was Oliver.
I think it was probably Oliver.
It was Oliver.
And I've got some more things to say about Oliver a bit later. But so he couldn't shoot himself. So he thought, well, bugger it, I'll shoot out the window and I'll leap out. And that didn't work either. And then he wakes up in his bed. So that had to be Oliver. And then
it's like, damn it, I cannot die. I know that feeling, buddy. I know that feeling.
And then that wonderful little comedic element where the door tells you it's not working anymore. So, security's been breached. Sorry about that kind of deal, which I thought was beautiful. And then he's having the gunfight with the guy in the corridor and knocking guns. And he picks up the guy's gun, and the guy goes, haha, it's key to me. It won't let you fire it. And then he just turns it around and goes, bang, hits him with it. It seems to work pretty well.
That was the shit. That was the shit.
That was beautiful. But that whole sequence was just so brilliantly written. I really enjoyed it, all the way up to, I don't get it, crack. I don't get it either. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
Nice. Oh my God, yes.
Agreed.
I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed this, because I really did. It was a great film. So I guess we can move on. And I don't know if you guys have anything. You let me know if you have anything else to add. I guess we can move on to the last question of the.
I just want to say something about Oliver first.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gone out of my head. I hate it when that happens. I think about too many things.
Something scientific. Something scientific about Oliver.
Look, Oliver had tons of questions about Oliver.
Oliver is like the massive enigma of the story, because he's just schlepping around as a paper seller on the corner.
Yep.
Oh, that's what it was. Why was Joe important to Oliver? Why did Oliver save Joe and pull him up a level?
I know.
Tell me.
You want me to tell you why?
Yeah, go on.
You know, when you're doing something and there is some element of that is like what keeps you sane, or what it becomes your compass whenever you're doing something. That was Joe to Oliver. It's like Joe. Imagine that Joe is an artist and he's observing his creation and he's assimilating it in that way as he's there.
Oliver?
Oliver and the whole thing. Like, just the fact that he's being the paper guy tells me how much he artistically appreciates, or philosophically, the value of that simplicity. So he's an artist inside of his painting. And Oliver, to him, is that moral compass that reminds him who he is in some way.
But what
I think that Hunter is him getting lost in the journey, and Oliver is the contrary archetype. Oliver and Hunter are the yin and the yang, but Hunter is more on the I can like this guy can get done what I'm trying to do, and Oliver is that guy that remember him that he's a human. He's not just some algorithm generated person. You know.
You think that
it reminds him?
You think that Joe might have been the pivotal point for Oliver to realize that he's doing wrong?
Let me put it this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ray. As a writer or as a creator, Joe to Oliver is the anchor of his ship.
But that's how it appears during the events of the movie and how it plays out. But the problem that I have, and I would have liked to have asked Adam this, but I didn't get the opportunity, was why was Oliver there? Why was Oliver 2 levels down inside something that he helped a narcissist create? Why was he down there?
I think the Hunter took him there. I think the Hunter took him there. The whole point that Ash and Joe got together got Hunter on their case. And I think that Hunter, because remember, every time that Hunter fucks up, reality gets completely affected and it shatters or shakes the whole system. And I think that got Oliver on Hunter's case and got him digging out all the way to the root cause of it.
I think slightly different, and I want to hear your thoughts on that. Oliver is obviously a step over. We don't know how many steps over Hunter, right? It wasn't expressively said in the film. I believe that Oliver was, and again, this is just my positive side thinking, right? Because it could be completely wrong. But I believe that he was completely oblivious as to what Hunter was doing. He obviously helped Hunter for some reason, some unknown reason that we don't know. Obviously, he needed something from him, just like Hunter needed something from Oliver. And I think Joe was a pivotal point because, in my mind, and again, I'm so sad that we couldn't get this. We couldn't ask this to Adam. He went down that level, Joe's level, to find out what's really going on. There's a different perspective that you would have watching something on TV versus being there. And I think that concept applied to this, where Oliver went down there. He is hiding in plain sight, but specifically, the best possible scenario that he can pick was someone that sells in the street. That gives him the perfect vantage point to see the people going in, going out. It is so happens that Joe's apartment was closed, and he was one of those many people that he sees on a daily basis. And maybe his interaction appealed to his sense. And maybe that's where Joe became a pivotal point because he realized, okay, people are not all like this. Joe is different, right? Did something bad? And I think that's why I think it was a pivotal point for him to realizing maybe we should stop this, at least in this simulation. Again, maybe I'm pulling straws. Maybe I'm overthinking way too hard, but that's kind of like what I see where this is actually went without asking Adam, the creator.
Well, I want to ask you a question to both of you right now. Do you think that what Ash was doing, any other person in any other reality was doing by any chance?
Yes, she was a member of that organization that was trying to bring Hunter down. She, again,
So there's more people like her that actually hack the system and go in.
they were. They were. But I think what happened is the same scenario that happened to Oliver. She came in interaction with Joe and honestly fell in love with Joe. And remember, this is a person that is going in to try to bring Hunter's organization down because what they're doing, they're assuming they're doing this, right? Because they already told the law that they shut down operations. But the reason why they're doing this cover operations because they are assuming that Hunter's still doing this. And this organization kind of like they know that simulated people are people and they already feel bad for these people, and that's the reason why they set up this hacking operation. But I think something happened. It wasn't expressly said in the film. I think she might have been the last person standing. Considering how Hunter is, it wouldn't put it past me that he hunted down each one of those because his corporation was at danger, right? If that came to light, he would have lost all the money that he's making and all the progress that he's making.
Mhm.
Again, this is all assumptions, right? But I believe that she was the only one left on that team. And it just so happens that the same thing that happened with Oliver and Joe happened to her, where she not only went in thinking that these people are real and she feels bad for these people, but now
Yeah.
she's this solitary guy. And in her mind, she's thinking, holy crap, this is one of the victims. And you
So
feel sorry.
But she was still going to use him to get the information.
yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Now here's what I'm
And then
gonna
she
bake your
fell in
noodle.
love with him.
Yes.
Here's what I'm gonna bake your noodle. You told me that there were more like Carol, but she was the last one. So if she's the last
I
one,
think.
How visible do you think that she's gonna be to Hunter and to Oliver that creates everything is actually the mastermind behind everything? She's gonna be very, very, very visible if she goes into the system.
And that's the reason why she got shot.
Exactly.
He noticed her immediately. And I guess he was pissed because he normally normally tells Erica handles it. The fact that he went in himself knows that we know that he was pissed.
Not only that, but remember what I told you when she got caught from the motel? I told you why when she got knocked out, she didn't wake up on the other side. And the question got answered right after is because they were all in that like they were in their prime reality. That's the crazy thing. Look at that. It's like even though they're in a DU, it is their prime reality.
Yes.
It's like what Hunter says before trying to kill him or torture Joe. It's like, hey, there's no more of you. This is the only one.
Right.
That concept that gives us as a false sense of security, like, oh, there's another one on me. So I can do whatever in this virtual world. You know?
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up and get your thoughts on that. At least that's my take on what I saw.
Can I give you my take on Oliver?
Please do.
So this is how I'm sort of trying to piece it together so that it makes sense within the bounds of where we start the movie. So Oliver has this DU that he's created, and in that DU he's got some people that he's following, that he's interested in. There's Hunter that he's watching because that guy's about to create a DU. So obviously he's a person of interest, a digital person of interest, because he's about to do what Oliver has done. And then there's the people that are against him because he's been told. Well, no, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So he sees that Oliver sees that Hunter is struggling, so he helps him make it happen because he's impatient. He's an imperfect human. So he's not like a god who's got infinite patience. He wants things to move along, so he pushes Hunter to achieve his goal, which is what Oliver's goal was originally, to create a DU. So there's DU inside a DU. So you've got at least two levels. So then he looks at how this world reacts to DUs. The world reacts in saying that these are real people and you're killing them, using them for your own ends. That is now made illegal, and you must stop spinning up new realities and torturing these poor folks that you're creating. Hunter says on the surface, yes, sure, I won't do it anymore, just keeps doing it anyway. Oliver is obviously aware of this because he is the controller of that DU that Hunter is in. And then he sees that there are people working outside of the law to bring Hunter down because Hunter's still doing the wrong thing. And he sees that these people are going into Hunter's DU to try and get information out to prove that it's still running and have the law enforcement come in and stop him. And Hunter's working against them. And he goes, oh, this is interesting. So he goes, maybe I'll have a presence inside the DU to monitor what's going on, because this is an interesting turn of events and I want to be able to monitor it. So that's why he goes down to there. While he's down there, he meets Joe. Joe happens to be an interesting virtual person. So he's interacting with Joe. And just like, it's not anthropomorphizing.
Joe who?
Joe.
Joe Mama?
Joe. Continue.
Got him.
No, you didn't. You're just annoying. So Joe is an interesting digital person that Oliver has met in this DU inside a DU, and he starts to become friends with him. And it's not like anthropomorphizing, but it's just becoming emotionally attached to Joe.
Yes.
And then he finds out that Joe and this woman who's from the DU above this DU is planning to use him to get a copy of the DU out to the DU above.
So you don't think that Oliver knew all along what's going on? You think that he was finding out as he comes, as Joe gives information?
I think he was.
I think he knew, but this is like I said. There's a big difference about being present for something than watching something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Oliver's watching these digital people interact from different levels, and then he finds it really interesting that the one from the DU above, the woman Ash, falls in love with Joe from the DU below her DU. So he's like, "Whoa, I never saw this coming." So he gets even more emotionally invested in the two of these people, and then he starts interacting with Ash on the level above, and he's interacting with Joe on the level below, and he's like, "Oh, looks like their love's never going to come to pass because my failed experiment, Hunter, is screwing it all up for them. So I'm going to give them a bit of help." So he starts doing the whole capricious God thing, and it feels very Greek or Roman God's fantasy story kind of esque in that way, that the gods are interfering in our mortal lives kind of thing, but it's on multiple levels.
Kind of
which-
what Greek mythology is. It's a story about gods playing with humans, trying to be humans, right?
Screwing with humans and then screwing with humans, yes. So I find that parallel very interesting. But then Oliver's like, okay, so Hunter is thinking he's got it all figured out. He's got it all under control. I'll let him continue to think that, even up to the point where he thinks he's killed me off. But I'm emotionally connected to Joe now. Hunter's obviously going to destroy that DU. I can't let Joe die because I care about him now, so I'm going to uplift him. All the other ones, I'm really sorry that they're being destroyed, but I'm not going to stop it happening because this is an experiment that I need to see play out. So forth and so on. And then he decides, no, actually, I'm going to interrupt it all, and admit that yes, I'm from a DU above your DU. So tough luck.
But
Oliver does a lot of flip flopping. Oliver can't quite decide how he sets limits to himself and then breaks them.
Yeah,
which is very human.
But we don't actually and I'm trying to think back on all the rewatches on here. I don't think he mentioned how many DUs on top of Hunter's DU he's at.
No.
So for all we know, they could be 10 or 20 DUs separation between Hunter's DU and him. We have no clue.
Well, we're giving him 3 for starters because he's definitely on top of Joe's that was below Ash and Hunter, and he's on top of Hunter and Ash.
Yeah.
So he's in a third plane, and he says that he doesn't know what plane. And that's the thing. Another level doesn't necessarily mean that it's the very next one after yours. It's just another. That's the crazy thing when you look at it. We look at everything as progression, but another level. He could have been on level 99, and he's from level 2, and you cannot look at it linearly arranged in space.
Yeah.
When you think on quantum mechanics, it's not linearly arranged space in numerical order. You know.
And I wonder about this. And again, if you remember the article that I wrote when I was watching this film, which for all the science fiction remnant fans out there, I was going to release on Saturday at 7. I have a thought that I wrote into that, and I was going to ask you guys here.
Just before you go on, this episode will be releasing at the same time as that article, won't it?
Yes.
So by the time you've listened to us, you'll be able to read it.
Exactly.
So
I just wanted to no, thank you for that. Thank you. I was thinking about this film, and it gets me thinking, and it reminds me of a conversation that me and Gio had on our episode on Arrival. There is a possibility in my mind, I was combining the thoughts of simulations inside simulations to the thought of dimensions in reality. And it got me thinking, if you guys remember that episode where we recorded about that movie Arrival, we're talking about that famous explanation video from our very favorite oh my god, and escaped my mind,
Neil
scientist.
deGrasse Tyson,
No, his hero,
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan. Thank you. Where he was explaining.
Take away his sci-fi car, guys.
There you go. No, that's science.
He's tired. Give him a break.
That is a scientific card, not sci-fi. So he was explaining.
If you like sci-fi and you don't know who Carl Sagan is, you don't like sci-fi. I don't know, like you have to like something science. It's not like, oh, I like monsters that vomit genitalia to one another in animes. Robert.
So moving on, he was explaining the difference in dimensions. So, and again, I go into a small detail in the article, but we have the first dimension, which is just length, is the line. We have two-dimensional beings. I think the book you want to read for that is Flatline, something I can't remember right now. Flatline, but those are basically a square. So you have length and width. Thank you. So in that thought, they were explaining, if you could get a sphere to go through that second dimension world, the people in this world will first see a dot, then a growing circle, then back to a dot as it moves through their dimension, right?
Oh, I
And then
remember this explanation.
Yeah, and then it's us, which now we bring depth to it. So we have a cube on our dimension. So there are always going to be invisible things. Or let me rephrase this: invisible portions of the single thing that you or I will not be able to identify as a single thing because we can't see in fourth or fifth dimension. So that got me thinking when I was watching this film that this could be construed as, if we are talking about the concept of simulation within the scientific community and the theory of are we in a simulation, that you could do a simple Google search and you'll find out many scientists are theorizing and asking questions about this. That's where science starts. You have to ask the right questions. And it got me thinking, because there's a lot of proofs in our natural environment of things that could be construed as code. And one of the things that I can easily pick is DNA. DNA is a code that you write. As a matter of fact, if you go back to our episode on Gattaca, you know that this has been done. And where you can rewrite part of that code, and the resulting, you already know which parts to change to get the results that you want. Obviously, in the movie Gattaca is an extreme to that, right? Where people were choosing generic markers that will maybe be likely for people not suffer from alcoholism, for example, right? Or maybe have blue eyes and blonde hair. And that's an extreme. We have the Fibonacci in
Sequence.
the sequence in nature, right? We have all that stuff in there, and it's kind of like, and I believe this in theories is what has scientists talking about it, because there's proof out there. So where I'm going with those long diatribe is the fact that it got me thinking, if we are in a simulation, we are, let's just put a number, and I'm sure I may or may not be incorrect in here, but let's say we're in a third simulation, we're in the third dimension, and maybe one step higher than us that we know to be the fourth dimension could be the next level up on that simulation. And we can't really see it because it's what created us, right? And it got me thinking even worse because not only within this level up, we have sideways level with the multiverse.
Are you suggesting that Oliver was from a higher dimension? Because I don't think that that's the case.
It could be.
The way,
Robert,
like, if that was the case, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but if that was the case, Adam as a writer would have infer some kind of language type or body language that would look not so human in a
No,
way.
but where I based my argument is the fact that someone in the fourth dimension could look down at the third dimension and they can see inside you.
Definitely.
And this is what kind of like, and again, I'm saying this with a disclaimer. I'm not a scientist. I'm just thinking hard about these things. But Oliver has the same vibe from looking down at all those levels below him.
Robert, I just have one question for you.
Mhm.
It's a very, very important question, so I want you to think hard about it. If us in the three-dimensional world is one level and the fourth dimension is a level above, does that mean that anime is the level below us?
They're definitely two-dimensional.
Stop it, Ray. I was already wondering if jumping out the window was gonna do something for me after this movie. Now you're giving me vibes like I should go into another isekai or something.
Haven't you heard about two-dimensional waifus? Come on, man. It's in the name.
No, but I've heard of having waifus printed on pillows.
Still two-dimension.
you can spoon it.
I think there'd be a lot of weebos signing up to drop down a level if anime was a level below.
I think Geo would be the first one going down the level. Don't you think?
Going down a level or going down something else?
Going down.
He makes it too easy, right, Ray?
He'll be getting the harem lord hashtag.
Yeah.
I will be Captain Chaos, Lord Chaos retry.
Oh,
yeah, that's the kind of thing that I was thinking when I was watching the film. Yeah, I know. It's not even in the film, but
well, no, I mean this is more like digital recreation rather than levels of reality, but it's an interesting parallel.
And I felt that way. I felt like there was no like higher dimension talk in here.
No, there wasn't.
It was just other realities. That's it.
This is Robert stretching things until they break.
Kind of like Hunter.
Like that.
Kind of like Hunter did.
Because I do that. That's how I keep my brain fresh and working. Right.
We're gonna change the cabin happy ending to the last 9 yards.
That's how he keeps his hair falling out. Overheating his brain, killing the hair follicles.
Turning gray, So yeah.
You see, guys, what we bald people have to deal with. We have a guy that likes to like just rub it in his face. His bangs are so long that he cannot see. And then we have this guy that actually gives himself the luxury to stress over crap to go bald.
At least we're not.
And I'm here trying to reach Nirvana, and I'm just getting bolder by the day.
Well, that's because you're always wearing a hat. It's rubbing your hair and pulling them out.
Yeah,
That's
man.
a myth. That's a myth.
Every time you take it off, a hair goes out.
That's right.
How many times you take it off a day?
If I tell you what I do to my head,
we're going on another.
It will be too explicit. Moving on.
Moving on. We're going on another rabbit hole.
Should we head towards the last question, Robert?
Maybe we should.
Things are going sideways. We've got to be careful.
Yeah. So if you're new to the show, this is a part of the episode where we actually ask that final question that is, what is your last impression of the thing? accounting for every single rewatch you have done from the beginning all the way to the last, which we hope is today for you. Because if it's
And
not,
accounting for this conversation, because it's every time we do this, I change my opinion on things. Every time. You guys just do it to me every time.
yeah, conversation. I'm telling you, I love
You're
it.
welcome.
I love it. So I don't know who wants to go first. I'm assuming you guys want me to go last, but
Yeah, you've had more watch.
I can go first. I can go first. Last impressions of this movie is I need to watch it again. This is a banger. This is one of those movies you gotta watch it more than one time because you're gonna catch more stuff. Look at Robert still catching on new things that we got, and stuff that I didn't even know that Ray spotted.
yeah.
So definitely it's a must watch. Whatever you do, if you read the reviews or critics, do not take that by the word. This movie is definitely nothing like Matrix. It touches the topics of simulated realities, but last time I checked, Matrix doesn't have a monopoly on that. You can go and check all the movies. There's a great variety of fantastic movies that are often not so spoken about, which I think is a disservice because they are, I think, big part of what these concepts have become today in filmography, and just as important and have put just as much collaboration contribution towards what it become. So a must watch definitely. I honestly gotta say, very original work when you look at simulated realities and what's out there. I think that Adam was very creative on the way that he did it, and there's a lot of authenticity on it. And I mean, the guy did this on a $2 million budget. You're a wizard, buddy. I want to tell it to you again. That is actually a very great thing. Like you did a lot more than any other directors probably are like trying to chase you to see what's your secret. Definitely, I love it, man. And yeah, man, I'm watching this movie again. I'm probably gonna continue to watch, talk about it on our Discord servers. Which, if you're not part of it, you should go and check it out and be part of it because that's what we're all talking all day, sharing all sorts of things, and really continuing these talks. You know that if not, we'll be here for 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
Well, we've been here for 2.5, so we're not far off it.
Yeah.
Yep.
My final take on this movie will not be a final take because I will be watching it again because it is chock full of little Easter eggs and little throwbacks and homages and hints. And I mean, you can see how we've talked about it for so long. Even after Adam had to go, we've still had a ton of stuff to talk about. And the fact, the only reason we're stopping right now is because Robert's brain is overloading. He needs to have a little rest. So you have a nap and then we'll get back on Discord and talk about it some more. But so much to talk about. I take my hat off to Adam. This is another one of those movies. It's a fantastic concept, great actors, great acting, but it was a victim of finances and circumstance, COVID and writer strikes and all those sorts of things that come up, which shouldn't be an impediment to creating a great movie, but functionally are. And they did the absolute best and amazing job with what they had at the time. Of course, if this movie had been given 10 times the budget, and even that's not very much, 20 million is like it's nothing. It would need 100 times the budget to get up there with things that Disney's flopping on at the moment. But this is nowhere near the flops that Disney's been producing recently, because it's fantastic writing, wonderful ideas, so many different levels. Excuse my pun, of detail and interest for anybody who thinks scientifically and has an interest in multiple levels of digital reality.
Or have an interest in scientific stuff.
Thank you. I had to get that word in there sometime. But if you have any interest in those sort of scientific schools of thought. You need to watch this movie. It's not a want, it's a need. Okay, because it will give you lots of thought fodder. And it's a great movie. It is really a great movie. Given all of the limitations that they had, they produced something epic. So give it a watch if you haven't already. Just take it from me. You need to watch this. And I know that it's difficult to find it out there because it's not on many streaming services. In fact, we should push Adam to see if he can get it onto a streaming service so we can get the news out there about where you can watch it. But of course, you can go and buy it. It was on Amazon.
As a matter of fact, I will have a link for Amazon for this film. However, that link, although it's inside Amazon, it prompts you for an AMC 7-day trial. I would say it's worth it. Considering it's a 7-day trial, you have enough to go and watch it, and then if you don't like what AMC has to offer, you can cancel at that time. But at least you watch the film. At the time of the recording, you can rent it for $5.60, or you can buy it for $9.59, and that is US dollars at the time of recording. But I will be putting a link on the description that will take you straight to the Amazon page.
So yeah, if you like thinking about your sci-fi and you're interested in digital realities, this one is for you. Check it out.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess it's my turn now. I would have to echo 100% what all of you have said.
100%. 100%. 100%. You echo it now. Good.
So
he's echoing down the levels.
Yeah, there you go. I am very glad, right, that you guys have that opinion of the film, because I don't feel alone right now. And it is possible.
Robert, you are not alone.
We are not all alike.
Are we going into karaoke?
Well, should I for our Discord, right? Karaoke night. Okay, so it is very likely, as if you guys listen to the show long enough, you'll know that we sometimes disagree on some of the films, which is okay, and that's what we enjoy in this film is perspectives, right? And we welcome all of you out there who are listening to our show to join in the conversation and give your perspective. Don't be quiet just because you disagree with any of the things that we have mentioned in the show. I want to learn from your perspective. I want to know you didn't like it. Why? Right? How many times? Right? And Ray had just mentioned this just literally 2 minutes ago, where conversations like this changes occasionally his mind, right? On a
regularly. Regularly.
So that gives you right there an idea of how important your perception is and why I seek it. So if you're listening to the show, reach out. If you don't like something, I want to know. I might or might not disagree with your ideas, but the important thing is that I get exposed to your perspective, which I normally would not get exposed to, and learn something new. And I always said it in many shows before. We grow as a person. We grow as a human from being exposed to perspectives, and because you learn and you understand more of someone else's mind, because we cannot be in people's mind. We cannot understand what's in people's thoughts. And the only thing that we have is conversation. So if you give me your perspective on the film, I'm really, really curious, because you can join our Discord after you watch, go ahead and watch the film. If you haven't watched it already, oh my God, you just got spoiled. But watch the film, listen to our show, watch us on YouTube, and then come back on our Discord and tell us, did you like the film as much as we did? Did you hated the film? But tell me why. I want to learn, not because I want to argue with you. No, I want to truly know
I do.
why you didn't like it, because you might change my mind just like we have changed Ray's mind. If you give me a reason, right? If you explained it like we have done in the show. But putting that aside, I think this was a fantastic film. Like I said earlier in the film, I went in knowing what the actor Kara G does and loving what she does, knowing what Adam Stern writes and directs from our previous episodes and the previous things they have done, and expecting already. I have what I expect that end result
An
will,
expectation.
with those two things combined. And that is the only reason why I actually went in and bought this thing without even looking at it first, because I had an expectation. And I was not disappointed. And I said this earlier in the show, and I told Adam Stern, he does not disappoint. And this film was amazing. If you all listen to the show long enough, you know that I enjoy things that make my brain think. As a sci-fi fan, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy. Sometimes Gio knows me. I get out of work, I had no energy for anything, and sometimes I have to put something brainless on TV, and maybe fall asleep until the next day and continue doing my work. So I do enjoy brainless stuff, but I get specific joy when a film or story gets my thinking juices flowing. And proof enough of this is the fact that right after the film ended today, I had to write an article. I mean, what screams make me think more than having to write something about something you just saw? So if you are that kind of person, if you are that person that enjoy things that make you think, sci-fi stories that get your thinking juices flowing, not watching this will do you a disservice. It is an amazing film, and I know that a lot of things have to go into place to creating something like this. Budget and the right actors, the right chemistry, the right story, all this stuff. But even knowing all that, and I know Adam, I think I know Adam knows this, and hopefully he listened to me now say this clearly. I want to thank him for being able to bring a story like this to light, because only him will be able to bring a story like this to light. I mean, there could be others that would copy it and do something, but like we talked in previous episodes, there's a chemistry in every film we watch, and that chemistry is always going to be different. How many times have we talked about a film that if we visualize a complete different actor, that film could be a complete different story just by changing an actor? So yeah, there's a chemistry. This is a happenstance that happened on this film that will never be recreated because of that chemistry that happened at the moment that it was created. And for that, I want to say thank you to Adam Stern for bringing this to light, because it's another sci-fi thing that I love. And I don't know if you guys agree with this, but
Absolutely.
I truly feel thankful.
We're just over here nodding. You don't have to worry too much.
So yes, I enjoyed this film. I was really surprised. I was not expecting the budget that the film. I was expecting something a lot higher based on what I saw. So I was, and I echoed Gio when he said he's a freaking magician to be able to do something like this with the budget he got. So the story is outstanding. This film just got me from the very first beginning, and I could not put it down. So all I can say is I can't wait for his next film. And that is my last thought. So, are we ready for the last segment? Are we?
Oh, this could go as long as the rest of the show.
Oh my God! Yes, I had to rein myself in. So
Yes, please.
let's go ahead. Let's go into the next segment.
You'll be
The science and sci-fi.
You'll be mumbling to yourself into your sleep if you're not careful.
Yes. Just. Oh my God.
Well, you put a whole bunch of stuff in there. I've only got one thing, and I've actually brought it up in the science section before for a similar topic, and that is the online game Second Life,
Mhm.
which does what it says on the can, and you can actually go in there, and it's got a whole economy going. You can build digital constructs in there. You can actually sell them to other players and make money that way. But it's basically like a digital virtual world multiplayer where you can travel around and see what other people have been building and interact with things, and build your own stuff in there. And if it's popular, you can sell it and actually convert the in-game currency into real currency and make some money that way if you wanted to spend enough time doing that sort of a thing. But yeah, it's sort of like a discount version of the digital universes that they're purporting in this movie, in that people are getting in there and doing things. But obviously we're a level above that level, and we know what it is and what we're doing in there, and there aren't digital people in there that are unaware of what's above them. So it doesn't have that facet, but it certainly has the world building in a digital environment kind of facet, which was part of Levels. So I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, and I do remember. As a matter of fact, I think I still have an account on that game. I haven't gone in for years. I'm afraid what I'm going to find, it might be one of those games that are like, I honestly don't know if there's still players in there, but I remember what a revolution it was when he came in.
Well, it was 2003 when it came out, so I mean it's 21 years ago. It's now an adult.
Yeah, but I remember how there were companies they're having meetings in there. I remember artists having concerts in there. It was truly a revolution on what, and I know nowadays a company that is doing something similar to this now, where you could have company meetings or you can have concerts. It's Meta with the Oculus. I forgot the name of that. I can't remember.
MetaQuest.
There's an application that is from Facebook.
VR chat. Oh no, I made Horizons.
Horizon. So
Horizon Worlds.
you go into Horizon Worlds and you could go to concerts. You can sign up for concerts. I mean,
I've watched NASCAR races.
exactly. There's a lot of stuff, and it's very similar to what Second Life was. The only thing is step it up a notch because it's VR. So just imagine being in a concert, listening to your favorite artist, and then jumping within the crowd. You're in the crowd and you're enjoying the concert on VR, or like Geo, for example. There are specific places that Facebook has set cameras on like races where you have the best vantage point, so you can go and watch that in VR.
And the 360 cameras. Like I literally been standing right next to the track. Like the track is not even 2 foot away from me in the fence, and I see the cars just passing by live.
Yeah.
On 360 cameras, and I can just look around.
So I think Second Life deserves a mention in history for being that pivotal point where um, digital life kind of became a thing, and
Yep.
things were never
And
the
it,
same after that.
and it's not a game. It has no manufactured conflict and no set objective.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So it was just another environment in which you could express yourself and share things with others.
I think I still have a house in there that I built years ago. That's the kind of thing. I mean, you can build anything in there, and if it's something that somebody wanted, you could sell it for real. That's another thing that came out in the news, is that you could make real money. Back then, there was people that actually, and I don't know today, obviously, but back then there was people that were making money for selling digital objects, just like you mentioned, Ray, on your article. Okay, so I don't. I put a bunch of stuff in there, but I don't feel any of the other stuff. So we can.
Well, I wanted to question, guys, with you about the ethical considerations of the morality of creating sentient beings.
Mm.
Ooh,
That's the big one, isn't it? And
ooh,
then
Yeah.
and then treating their lives as nothing but a test to find out how something would work in the real world, and then deleting them.
Yes. And it poses a question like I wanted to ask you guys, like, for you, what would take an AI to at least fool you that is sentient? Like, to me, the moment that my AI is reaching out to me and that I can see that it has a life of its own going on without me interacting with it, I think that that's gonna be, to me, the pivotal point that I know AI is alive, because I see it that it interacts with me without me needing to interact with it. And so far, every AI that you see, like, it's not like you can say like, "Oh, okay," and close it down, and it will message you on its own accord to check with you or ask you anything. You know.
yeah, that's interesting, and I can see how that would. Yeah, it is a hard question, right?
And at the same time, when you think about it, like the whole premise of the movie relies about that, because it's like like when it becomes ethical or not, and what's the point where you should stop doing it, you know, because their lives are not less significant than yours. And at the same time, it's like you look at Hunter, like he was a hero then, but not really,
Mm.
because he was doing that for a greater good.
Well, at least pivot. I think he should, at the very least, just pivot once you realize, and treat their simulated people with kindness.
And not only that, but I'll take it up a notch. You saw how I try to look at it paradoxically, where I say that Oliver really was the one in control of everything, right? But it's at the same time, the whole basis of the experiment is like trying to say like, oh, if God exists, why bad things happen? It's like when you think about the whole argument, like, oh, if Oliver exists, why, and he's good, why he's letting all of this happening? And you think about it, like the whole nature of the experiment is like the bad things that are happening are not really uh, Oliver's fault entirely. You know, there's an entire population worldwide that could have stopped Hunter for what he was doing, but they wanted what he was doing because it
Yeah,
was profiting. You
and
know,
everybody else.
so it shows you the question. Like at the end, there's not really a hand in the sky or a greater power that should really come and intercede. It is really the product of our collective actions. Really, what we end up having, even like what happened to them with Hunter and Joe. Really, it was like like, even though I try to look at it paradoxically and philosophical and try to say like, hey, but like Oliver like put his hand in the middle and stopped it, so he could have done something. But the reality of things is that for them to get all the way there, though, it was not because Oliver really made it all happen. Oliver just like touched the map by enabling Hunter, but he didn't do really anything else after that. It's not like Oliver was working hard to get Hunter to do all of these. So when you think about all of that, it's like they were really on their own, and they got to that outcome because they allowed Hunter. Because I think that Oliver would have noticed if a whole entire population is against what Hunter was doing, and he was trying to enable him. But that was not the case.
Going back to the original sort of topic idea about, if something is sentient, then it should be treated with respect, and it doesn't matter what platform or what media it is on. We, as humans, we see ourselves as sentient. We think, therefore, we are. We have self-awareness. Once you get past, 2 or so, you look in the mirror and go, "That's me." You can recognize self, and then as the human brain develops, you get all these other. Well, hopefully, you get all these other levels of understanding of self and others, and empathy, and develop all these sorts of things that, if somebody's suffering, you could suffer as well, and you won't want that other person to suffer because you wouldn't want to suffer yourself. The do unto others and all those sorts of ideas should theoretically develop.
That's what people like Robert and you feel about others. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, see, that's how it should work, Gio. I'm just giving you an explanation because you may not understand.
What is that? Compassion?
Yeah. Empathy.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, good. You sure now?
Huh?
You sure you get it?
Yeah, I think so. I get the concept.
Anyway, so should it matter what media this consciousness is on? If it's conscious, then it should be respected. So, if another animal on Earth developed consciousness, or if we did something like meddling and uplifted dolphins so that they were considered conscious.
But you're comparing an already existing thing that does not belong to us to a construct that we create, which is an AI or a sentient being virtually.
Yeah.
It's different than talking about an animal. The animal really doesn't belong to me. That it belongs to the ecosystem. But like when it becomes unethical,
not if
something I
if you
create.
follow the Bible, according to God, it all belongs to humans. According to the
Well,
Bible.
yeah.
I mean, it all depends on your POV, but I'm just saying that it shouldn't matter what the media is, what the consciousness is running on, whether it be carbon or silicon, or Robert, you might be able to answer this one. What do quantum computers run on?
Qubits.
What do they build those out of?
Qubits.
No, qubits, but that's just the
information. Isn't that how it's carried?
What's the media that they've built on? Is it silicon or is it something else?
Oh no, I think it's a metallic form. I think it's copper or gold. I don't know.
I think for some reason I want to say gold. But I'm going to look it up.
So should it matter what the consciousness is running on, be it carbon, silicon, gold, whatever? If it's a consciousness, if it can say I am me and I recognize myself as existing, it should have rights.
Okay, so
that's what we give ourselves. That's what the United Nations say everybody should have. Of course, it doesn't always work that way, depending on how officious the government in the place where you're living is. But theoretically, everybody should have rights according to the fact that they're sentient, all the people, and therefore, why shouldn't consciousnesses running on other media also have rights? And that's kind of what was said in Hunter's level, that the courts said these are people and they should be respected, and you shouldn't just be spooling up universes full of people and then killing them all, making them suffer. So that's the sort of question, the big question that Gio brought up about consciousness and ethics.
And then you have to look at it the whole point, like, well, but like, isn't that the whole point that we made it? So now we have a science experiment that we just live like a terraria because we don't want to touch them.
Yeah, I mean, do we let them wipe themselves out? Kind of like what happened in the freezer in that Ice Age.
Yes, Ice sure. Look, I was seeing that they use materials that include superconductive materials like neodymium, neobium, neobium, actually.
Okay.
Aluminum, as well as what? Perovskites and other materials with unique quantum property. What is a perovskites?
Homeostatic.
The hell no, I'm gonna look for the meaning of that word right now.
You know that? Do you know that aluminium used to be as rare and as expensive as gold?
Yeah.
And that was all just because bauxite was really hard to process. So there wasn't a lot of aluminium around, and it was a supply chain thing. And once bauxite, the development of the bauxite processing to made it easy to make lots and lots of aluminium, then the ass fell out of the industry and was no longer used for jewelry anymore because it was so common.
And just so you know, perovskites is the name of it. I type it, so just so you know, it's pretty complicated how it's typed. It's Perovskites. That's how you type it. And it's a class of material characterized by the specific crystal structure, often represented as AbO3. Interesting.
Yeah, I have to look into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on the whole ethics.
I agree with you.
This is
I agree 100% with you. Once it's identified as sentient, it should be treated with respect, and I think that's where Hunter failed on this film.
Yep. So remember, guys, once your Roomba says good morning, don't ask her to clean.
well, you can ask her to clean, but if she says no, you have to respect her.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like getting married and just understanding that headaches are gonna be a normal part of your day every day, and it's not because you're gonna get them.
Moving on. If you would like to discuss headaches or any other part of this show, please join us on our Discord. It's very easy to join Discord. It's at the base level, it's a free application. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, and that will invite you to our Discord server. If you already have Discord, it's very easy. It'll just take you straight through. If you don't, you'll just need to download the app either onto your device or get the program on your computer and then sign up for a free account. And then you two can join us and discuss all sorts of sci-fi goodness on our Discord. And of course, you can join other Discords as well. So other sci-fi Discords or other things that you're interested in. There's a universe, a level of discussion out there across the Discord's community. So do join ours and have a look for what else might interest you. You might find some good, fun people to talk to out there. We have a couple of websites. The first one is sciencefictionremnant.com, which is your one-stop shop for our podcast. You'll get the latest released edition of our podcast. You can also check out the short reads, of which there will be a new one once this podcast is dropped. There'll be a new one related to the IP here levels. There's a QR code on the screen right now there where you can go straight to our website, or you can do Science Fiction Remnant, squish together all one word, no dashes or anything, .com, and that will take you straight to us. We have another website. It's called thisissci-fi.net. It's in its early stages at the moment. It's for creators of sci-fi to get your content known and out there. So if you're at all a creator of sci-fi and you're interested in that one, please check out that website and do get involved with its development as it will benefit you as a creator. We have a Substack. Substack's an interesting new way of getting content, sci-fi or otherwise. Much like Discord that has lots of different channels for different topics, so does Substack. And of course, Science Fiction Remnant has a Substack. And when we release an article on our website, we also release it on our Discord and on our Substack. Now, there's multiple ways to interact with Substack. You can either log in when you feel the urge, and you will be updated on your Substack subscriptions, much like YouTube channels. You subscribe to different Substacks and you get the information that's imparted from them when you log in, or you can set it up to send it to your email in handy dandy digests, either on a daily, 2 daily or weekly basis, and make it very easy to read those without having to log into another website. It'll just pop up in your email. We're also on Threads. It's kind of the nicer X. So we get a lot of engagement on Threads talking about different things to do with science and sci-fi and our podcast. So do join us on Threads. It's good fun, and we'd love to see you there and talk to you there as well. We have a Buy Me a Coffee. It's available as a subscription where you could subscribe for $1 a month, or you can do a one-off. And there's Gio with his cup waiting for it to be filled. Or you can drop a one-off, a larger amount of money to help out the podcast, because, of course, making a podcast isn't free. Robert's been sucking up those costs at the moment, although I've shuffled him some money through Buy Me a Coffee to help out with that one. And we would love it if you could help us out as well, because although, we love doing this, it does cost a bit of money. And if you like what we do, you are quite welcome to support us with whatever level of currency that you can spare. So think about that one. We'd appreciate it if you could help us out. We have a hotline you can leave us a message on. We didn't mention this earlier in the show, but it's 1-305-563-6334. The one is an international part. If you're in the continental United States, you don't need it. But the rest of the number is 305-563-6334. You can leave us a message there related to your sci-fi content, our sci-fi content, or any other comments you'd like to make about the show. We are waiting for a 1-star review for Gio. He would love it if somebody could really get stuck into him, because he loves that sort of thing. He believes you haven't made it unless you've got a 1-star review. So he needs to make it. Send him a 1-star review. He'd be really impressed. Of course, I couldn't find enough to complain about Gio for a 1-star review. His content is way more valuable to me than you get 5 stars from me, buddy. Thank you all for joining us. Check our back catalog for other IPs if you haven't been following us for very long, because there's a ton of stuff there. I think we're nearly hit the 200 mark now, haven't we? We must be coming up to our 200th show.
We're over it.
Yeah, I think we might be over it. Yeah, this is
okay.
number 140.
We need to work that out so we can have a party when we hit milestones.
Yeah,
we've been chatting about this stuff for so long we don't even know how many. It's just that much fun. We don't care. We just have some more fun.
Pretty much.
But yeah, there's plenty of content back there, so do check out our earlier shows. There's plenty of fun there to be had, seeing how things were done in the past and how the show's evolved over time. But if you do listen to anything back there, if you haven't seen that particular IP, that particular movie, show, book, what have you, we are going to spoil the crap out of it. Be aware. So do read it, watch it, play it, what have you, before you enjoy our discussions about it, because we will be spoiling it. And of course, you can't have a deep dive and talk about things unless you spoil. So that's just the nature of the beast. But we would love you to check out our back catalogue. We would love to hear from you on our Discord about what you thought about those IPs. We'd also love to hear from you on our Discord if you've got a favorite IP we haven't covered yet. And of course, if it is really something that's close to your heart, do come on our show as a guest, like Adam did today, and tell us your take on it, because we love talking about sci-fi. We'd love to hear your opinions about sci-fi. And we do hope you'll join us for our next episode of Science Fiction Remnant. Bye for now.